15 seconds. Guidance is internal. 12, 11, 10, 9. Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. We have a liftoff. Now, I'm sure that most of you know the old story about the astronaut who went far out into space and was asked on his return whether he had been to heaven and seen God. And he said yes, yes.
Greetings, ladies, gentlemen, non-binaries, and sentient artificial intelligence. Join us on this journey to find the others. Because no matter where we find ourselves in this multiverse, the act of existing is all too familiar. Guys? Is anybody out there? Hello?
The mushroom has a tremendous problem-solving ability.
Herbs are plant. Herbs are good for everything.
As we look across this great expanse and stare at the stars, we can't help but be reminded these lights, though we're seeing them all at the same time, happen across a multi-billion-year delta. Some of those fires burned millions of years ago, some billions, but all of them happened so we can experience them in this one singular moment.
They called us scouts. They called us seekers. They called us Hoosier. But we were destined to question everything.
I don't know about you, but as for me, the question has already been answered. Should we be here? Yes.
All I have to do is try to make sense.
I don't think you'll have any hard time with that. Rick, what we'll probably do is we'll record a little intro talking about Matt's a little bit, but since we only got a few minutes with you, we'll just talk to you about where Matt's is at, Phase 3 trials, which is super exciting. And we talked to you a little bit in Michigan. We're a local terrestrial radio show that talks about psychedelic science and cannabis on a gospel radio station, which is the best part about it, right? So,
Are your listeners also like fundamentalist Christians, or
that's what we're hoping for. So
yeah.
we have a group of 2,000 people that are like-minded, an online group, and we also have an uncensored podcast. But why we stay on terrestrial radio is for the people that we don't know that we're hitting. We're hoping that the person that's listening to sermons at 5 o'clock when it flips over at 6 o'clock, and these guys have Terrence McKenna leading into their show, these people are like, what am I on board for? So hopefully we're changing some minds through the old.
Way more.
No worries, sure.
You can actually see him walk in the background beforehand. And did you like how I snuck myself in here on this interview?
I would expect you to do nothing.
Guys, welcome to Hoosier Sophisticate. That was a big interview.
Little taste, guys. Welcome to Hoosier Sophisticate. 11/11, an auspicious day. Veterans Day, what used to be Armistice Day.
Used to be Armistice Day.
Wouldn't it be nice if it was still Armistice Day?
I don't know. What's Armistice Day?
First and foremost, thank you to all of our veterans.
Thanks, veteran.
Past and present, we got
Thank
all
them
that.
every day.
Thanks, Seth.
Thank them every
at
day.
home. Seth's a little sick tonight, a little under the weather.
Poor little guy.
I think he actually just got some free chicken wings at Buffalo Wild Wings
doing
for
a
his
little
service.
doo-doo.
He's
He's doing
taking
a little
advantage of all the
doo-doo
free
butt.
meals he's doing right now.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. He's just filling up on
So
free moves. Good for you, buddy.
Thanks to our veterans. No, I just had this thought today, and I think I saw you say something about you want to end all war, and you think it's possible.
I do,
and I hope it's possible. I hold out hope.
But you know what happens when you end all wars?
And that's when the whores come in.
Oh, so you got to keep the whores down. Okay.
War's a horse. So no, what I was just thinking about, like, imagine it was Armistice Day, which was to celebrate the end of World War I. And I saw this deal where this pilot disobeyed orders and went up in his plane as the war was ending, and all of the soldiers were standing up out of the trenches and cheering on both sides. And all laid down their arms and then slowly start walking towards one another, eventually hugging one another. And he said as he flew over into France, they were hugging one another and kissing each other on the cheek and just mutual respect. Yeah, they were in France. Sure. They were in France. You can extrapolate that information.
And then the guy came in on a strafing run, and he's like, "I did it! I just want to see I ended the war. I want to see the world burn." Man.
It was a moving little story, and I think maybe Budweiser or something ran a commercial a few years ago where it was like on Christmas Day where they called a truce and played soccer. That might have been World War II. But anyway, I was thinking
like on
about
Christmas. I think they did something too, where soldiers met on Christmas Day.
Yep.
What
And just
the
today
fuck?
we're not gonna so you share all of these. You share all of these values enough to be like, hey, we can call it truce for 6 minutes, but in 7 minutes I'm gonna blow your face off.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I'm gonna do it.
But what I was thinking about was, how nice it would be is if we only had to have a day dedicated to like one war that it was atrocious and we're found our way out of, but we have veterans from so many different foreign conflicts. And they should have their day. Like you said, every day should be
every
their
day.
Like every single day.
Such
should be
bullshit that it's more for us sometimes. I feel like civilians. It's more for us to say, hey man, we gave you a day. Here it is. And I know people don't really feel like that, and it comes back to the comfortably disgruntled. We're all like, yeah, war sucks, but I realize it's necessary, and we got to send these fucking warriors like Chris Wolfenbarger. I mean, the dude had me in tears in Colorado saying, we were the ones who raised our hand and said, we're going to guard the wall.
No doubt.
Unfucking believable. Like, makes me misty-eyed thinking about the bravery. I'm uncomfortable getting out of Missouri. I'm like, oh man, I'm in Illinois. I don't necessarily know the rules here. And they're like, yeah, you want to go to Iraq when we're 19 and fight for freedom and free? And I'm like, oh shit. And I think that's another problem with it is you go. When 9/11 happened, we were 18.
Everybody was
17,
going for the
18.
right reason.
Man, we're going.
We were
going to sign up with CBC. All these boys. Just sign up right now. And everybody's doing push-ups.
Yeah.
It was weird.
And the dads are like, I didn't pay $46,000 a year for you to go be a grunt.
Let the St. Mary's kids
exactly.
They're the public school kids. I don't know. Rural. Every kid from the rural areas who feels like they can't get out of where they're at without maybe joining the military. Because I feel like that's they prey on a lot of that. Like, hey, man, we'll get you out of here. Go see the world, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, you will see the world. But, you realize that you think you're fighting for something good, but Andrew Wiscombe, friend of the show, said, I realized that
voice of an angel too.
God dang, him and his gal are that
Michelle
gal.
Gomez.
Jeez,
terrific. They're terrific.
They're
together.
a movie.
I'm telling you, I'm putting it out in there. I'm going to continue to say this time and time again because I do believe in manifestation, and I believe that Hoosier Sophisticate has to put on a show that includes Andrew Wiscombe, Michelle Gomez, Ryan Watts and friends, and of Seeing Stone, excuse me.
You all right?
I'm losing it again, buddy. I'm gonna get a drink here.
But he said it's a lot of gray. But war seems like it's black and white, but there's a lot of gray. There's so much gray, and we worked with Project for 22. I went to Colorado and saw how cannabis can be used as a medicine, but I realized that it's all of this tragedy, this trauma that they have to go through going on. I said I don't like to leave Missouri. They leave the country. They're on their own. You think at 18 you're an idiot, man. I was an idiot.
Yeah.
I was an idiot till like a year ago. You know, I'm still a huge idiot, but you know, less so.
Sure. Always improving.
Yes. So when you're a young kid and you're getting out there, and then you meet guys like, I mean, Matt Reeser, you know, you're
No
like,
doubt.
okay, you're like, this guy, Apache pilot, like,
No doubt.
okay, we interviewed him, and seeing the world through his eyes was unbelievable.
Seth was a scout.
A scout.
They're these are the guys that are like, hey, we're gonna go in there before we have anybody in there to help us if shit goes
you gotta
awry.
go by yourself.
Guys,
gotta
just
check shit out.
go get us some secrets, guys.
He was like a spy, kind of.
Yeah, Seth was like
Except
James Bond. Just a shitty James
Seth
Bond.
was a scout though, except like he was walked by a leash and he had like a little gimp mask on and a studded collar, and the guy was walking him around. He was sniffing out fucking Al Qaeda.
I don't know if that's maybe.
Probably. If I
He
had to
did.
guess.
I do believe he did get to see Saddam's palace, though, right? Like
he
they
did.
were
Shit
guarding
in his
it.
toilet.
Good
Shit
for
in
him.
Saddam's toilet.
Good
dude.
for him.
Yeah, I would.
Anyway, to wrap all of this up, thank you to our veterans. But I was just thinking about, man, let's get to a world where we don't have
Let's end
veterans.
war.
When that I saw a meme and it was like a parade of all of these different veterans, and each one of them were carrying their banners, starting from World War II.
What's the
to
worst
Korea
war?
to-
If they made you, you know, they're like, all right, you got the least one you would have wanted to go fight in.
American conflict, because like I think about
Yeah.
like the Battle of Leningrad, and I'm like, oh, dude, no.
Where the Russians
yes.
didn't even have enough guns for their guys.
They just
so they
froze
go,
them
hey,
out.
everybody run
They just
that
froze
way.
them out.
And then if people started coming back, they would shoot them. What, millions? Over
Oh,
a
dude.
million people died, I think, in
Unbelievable.
that battle. That's the biggest battle the world has ever seen, isn't it?
Most likely. I don't know.
Was
Maybe
Stalingrad?
Xerxes. I don't know. Xerxes in the.
I'm a big Xerxes guy. I'm a fucking
No,
Xerxes
I mean,
guy.
I don't know that I'd want to be in any of them. I think the Civil War would have been really weird. I think
a
the
tough
Civil
one.
War, you're fighting your
That's a
neighbor.
tough one, man.
You're fighting your neighbor,
Yeah.
which, believe me, I've got some neighbors.
Especially in Missouri.
I've got some neighbors, buddy, that I'm like, yeah, I could see it.
I
I
shoot
could see
that
it.
mother
But
dead.
you know, I mean, brothers fighting brothers, like that would just be a weird.
Be like,
deal.
yeah, man. And like 5 years later, be like, Craig, remember when you killed my dad? That was crazy.
Man, that was wild. That was cheers, man. Here's to us.
Here's to the Union. I think World War I would have sucked.
No
balls.
doubt, digging trenches
Trench
sucks.
warfare.
Digging trenches sucks
And
if you're gardening.
Exactly. And then they're like, ooh, we figured out mustard gas and all this germ warfare and shit, or biochemical warfare.
No doubt.
And
Yeah,
they're
it was
like-
no holds bar at
And
that
then
point.
the Brits at one point.
And we're just
dropped-
getting motors, so
Yeah,
like,
yeah. And
you
the
know,
plane's like, you know, and they're like, look at that fucking thing. It's flying through the sky. It's going like this, like a kite, like barely fucking moving. And I read this article where the British, they got gassed by the Germans. And so they're like, oh, fuck them. And so they gassed them and the wind shifted and all of the gas came back into their
Jesus.
own trenches. And they're like, son of a gun.
Well, guys, it's been a good
we
run.
We killed our own guys. We killed 1 million of our own guys. Oops.
anyway.
Yeah, Vietnam would have sucked. Oh, the desert sucked. I don't know if any of them would have been awesome.
Listen, nobody's fighting at the Ritz-Carlton.
Well, if you would have got in Saddam's palace and
That's
had
true.
like a battle.
Not so bad.
Pew pew.
Yeah.
Anyway, shout out to the veterans.
Shout out to the veterans.
Shout out
Steve,
to the veterans.
it was
Thanks for our freedom, man.
yeah. Sure.
Appreciate
Thanks
that freedom.
for voluntarily choosing to do this.
Seriously, like
So
there's no draft anymore, correct?
it's correct.
I mean, these people volunteer.
That's what they say makes our army great. They're not. They choose to be there. They're not forced to be there. They have something. They have something to fight for. They're choosing to fight for it.
Damn right.
So
Damn right.
thank you
Freedom.
guys for that.
We-
What a
God bless
week,
America.
buddy. What a week.
God,
What a
Craig,
week. I just don't even.
So proud of you, guy.
I'm
did
proud
good.
of you,
did
man.
good.
Like I'm proud of you. I'm proud of us for sticking it out,
thank
putting ourselves in a situation
us,
where I think we're just learning, bud. We're getting to a point where the Germans used crystal meth at the beginning of World War II to kick the shit out of the French.
Damn right. Why the French were always getting their fucking asses beat.
Yeah.
What was
So
their deal?
apologies to all of our French friends, buddy. If you would have asked me 2 years ago, what's the interview? What is the interview that you want above all else? Yeah. My Babe Ruth, my Honus Wagner trading card, it was Rick Doblin. No question about it. And let's give it to you real good here. This is a guy who I have admired from afar for years. 7-8 years ago, I think I found out what MAPS was. followed along. I am firmly in the camp that psychedelics have the potential. You guys want to talk about world shifts, climate change, talking about ending wars, things like that. I believe that psychedelics have have a better chance of doing that than anything else that we know, as long as we can start to shift the mindset, the taboo about it. And people like Rick Doblin have been doing it way before it's been in vogue. I mean, in the 80s, he perceived a problem that was going to happen because of the rising popularity of the club drug Atom or MDMA, and he saw that typically
was it in Europe when that first was? That was part of it. The
I mean, it was synthesized here. Sasa Soljan.
Yeah. Isn't that when it became a party drug? And they say in England?
I think it was definitely in Europe. It was definitely a pretty big party.
Good job.
But, Rick
Europe.
had the foresight that everything that we've had that has had tremendous healing potential with psychedelics, we talk about on the show, LSD was developed as a psychiatric tool. As things get taken on by the counterculture, then ultimately what happens is the government perceives it as a threat, and then they start making laws against it. And Rick was ahead of that, or wanted to be ahead of that. And so he knew that it was coming, and honestly, he just put himself in front of our legislators. If nobody else was going to sit in front of him and tell him why, he was going to do it. And so I have admired his work, his bravery. And now, because of people like him, we have super important and popular people coming out. That was something that he was saying is maybe the most important thing that we can do is to come out of the psychedelic closet. If you're a functioning member of society, you're a taxpayer, you're creating something, you're creating value for your community, and you have, positive psychedelic experience. He even likened it, I heard him on a podcast before, we've seen huge shifts in our social, understanding and empathy. And even with that, like he likened it to like the LGBTQ community. What ultimately propelled everybody to kind of be okay with it was the fact
Will
that
and Grace.
Will and Grace. Yeah, he said Will and Grace. So if we could get a sitcom,
reboot.
If we could get a sitcom of Will and Grace, but Craig and Steve.
Psychedelic.
Craig and Steve.
Banshees.
It's got the funniest little jokes happen to us. But people became more and more okay with it when they realized that it was their brothers and their sisters and their mothers and their fathers and their best friends who were coming out of the closet being brave enough to do that. That was ultimately what it wasn't. Benevolent politicians, the people that ultimately signed off to make it legal, which talking about marriage as a state thing is, I think, silly, but whatever. Those same people campaigned on being traditional, God-fearing, a marriage between a man and a woman until it became a thing, right? Until it became a hot button issue. But really, that wasn't what changed the mind of everybody else. It was when you were like, oh, I was on a team with that guy. And he was great. He was such a good human. And what he chooses to do with his own life is not my business at all. That's what made it happen. And the more we can remove the stigma from psychedelic use and psychedelic users, the more that people are going to see that some really profound, unbelievable things have come as a result of it.
Snoochin'.
That's who you're dealing with right there. That's why I love you, buddy. No, it was so neat this whole experience, this whole journey that, you even told Rick about it. I asked Craig about ayahuasca. I saw him talking about Cardinals players' dicks on the internet, and he's my best friend going now. Rick Doblin was someone that I saw on podcasts. He was always popping up. I had heard about MAPS, but, I was learning about cannabis as a medicine, 3, 4, 5 years ago, really getting into it, learning about, cannabis is a medicine, but MDMA is even further. And I believed that picture of the holes in the brain. That's not true, by the way. Okay. The holes in the brain.
No, yeah,
it
was
just
completely
the activity,
fabricated.
or what was that whole thing?
They basically with the what was it? No, it was a
imaging?
MRI.
Yeah.
It was an MRI, right? But what they're able to do is isolate by colors what different parts were firing. And so what they did was they isolated the colors on one center of their one piece of the brain, and then all of the other colors they deleted.
And they said
so
that was
it
a
looked
hole
like
in
there
your
were
brain.
holes in the brain.
Yeah.
It turned out to be total bullshit.
Total horseshit. So then, Duncan Trussell, where he's going, where he's been, he's my guy. Aubrey Marcus, seeing what he's been getting into. Sorry,
Yes.
ladies, he's not having sex anymore. Sorry, Jenny. Sorry to break that to all of you. Just a handsome bastard. But these guys that I looked up to thought of Rick Doblin as a god. So I was like, okay, I got to get on board and figure out what's going on with this guy. He's an interesting looking fellow, you know. You don't know what to expect. He's a powerhouse, and he has a smile that is so disarming, so warm and soothing.
Mike asked before if I was nervous talking to him, and I would have thought that I would be.
You were nervous to that one time on the phone with that guy. We gave you shit.
Totally.
Out there. Like,
Yeah.
I got $1 million. This is an 8-part question.
No doubt. But there's something about Rick and how comfortable he is in his own skin. And when he first sees you, he's all smiles. And that smile just knocks down all your defenses. And he's like, hey, I'm a human just like you. And I think also seeing him in Michigan with all of the people and giving all of them not just like 2 minutes of his time, but actually extending the conversation with each one of them to make sure that they were actually saying what they were. He challenged me a couple times. Is he going to ask me a hard one? You know, like, which I really appreciate.
We're going to play the interview in its entirety at the end of this.
Okay, right on. But you know, like, he made me feel very comfortable. And then, and honestly, our trip to Michigan was a precursor to that. But it was
you guys
also,
did kiss on the mouth right before the interview. I
well,
thought that was
he's
a
a
good
world traveled.
icebreaker.
He's world traveled.
Was a good
And
one.
so, you know, it's just what grown men do. You know, like they're not weirded out by the
right.
you know, any kind of homoeroticism.
I wasn't weirded
platonic
out.
love. Sometimes it looks like a kiss on the lips.
Yep.
You know?
And I just got to experience it from the cuck booth in the corner. So it was great. It was right where I'm trying to live.
He's a sweetheart of a man.
He is so
and he
sweet.
is incredibly brilliant. So one thing that I love about him is that sometimes I think like just trying to get to him originally, we were trying to get with my buddy hooked us up with maps like a year ago, and we've been trading emails back and forth. Brad Burge is their media guy, you know. And I'm like, I mean, well, it'd be cool to talk to anybody from Maps, but like if we could get through these gatekeepers and get to Rick, like that would be awesome. And just how accessible he makes himself is crazy. So then, you know,
the emails, Rick.
like, no, here's my number. Shoot me a text. You know, like, man, well, okay. So, but thinking about that, like, I wondered if he was just kind of he started it, but he's just kind of a figurehead for the organization, right? Yeah. But he is as equipped with knowledge as anybody in that fucking organization.
Oh, buddy.
He's a PhD from Harvard.
Buddy.
And he's the best kind of PhD from Harvard, man. He's just such a fucking solid dude. It was a dream come true, man.
Okay.
It was a serious dream come true.
I want to tell you guys how it all went down because that was pretty interesting. Craig and I met him in Ann Arbor. A2. Yep. Went to the conference. He was speaking. He was one of the biggest person I thought
he was the keynote
that was there.
He was the keynote
that we were trying to get to, and then Shane. So we ended up having this unreal experience with Shane. I waited for Rick after during a lunch break, and like Craig was saying, people were like, Rick, I realize it's lunch. You've been listening to all these talks. You've talked. Your time's valuable. I just wanted to ask you these two things and tell you thank you. And he's like, oh, okay, so what else is going on with this problem? And where do you think it really stems from? And I'm like, Jesus Christ, he's getting down to the root with all these people in these 15, 20-minute conversations. So he goes through all those. I'm waiting. You come back. I was like, Craig, I'm going to wait in line and talk to him. You're like, dude, there was a mile-long line for
I was
lunch.
like 3 people away from food.
And he's like, I've been waiting 45 minutes, so I don't know if I can leave. And I'm like, all right, stay here. I ended up waiting so long.
I was convinced that I could wolf that food down.
And you did.
And I did.
You did. The video shows.
Yeah, for sure. Yes, for sure.
So then you come back out, and Craig's standing behind him, and I'm like getting ready to talk to Rick. I'm next in line. We have a nice little exchange. He's like, hey, you guys coming to the Drug Policy Alliance thing in
St. Louis?
November, whenever it is, 9th and 10th, the whole week, which this thing is amazing. International.
It's
amazing.
It's a biennial conference. The last time it was 2017 in Atlanta. Last time they had it, and the next one's in Puerto Rico in 2021.
From people from all over the world.
There were so few St. Louisans there.
I know. I'm like
everybody like there were hardly any locals.
Yeah.
Well, that's not true. There were a few people with organizations local. I think Hands Up Like Don't Shoot was there,
Yeah.
and there was a few different churches. I think from the north side that were there.
Chris
and there
Smith was there.
Our guy Chris
He's a-
Smith was
he's a
there. We
man.
saw Chris
Man.
Chesley. We saw a
Yep.
few of the. There was a Missouri Medical. It's not symposium, but there was the talk.
Yep.
Dan Vietz was there. Our friend Jamie Kaz.
Oh yeah,
John
she's
Payne.
going down.
Jamie Kaz, the poor gal, got
That's-
scheduled at the exact same
That
time to
sucks.
speak at the Cannabis
That
Industry
sucks
Showcase
for her, man.
as Steve and I. So good luck to you.
Oh shoot! No, I forgot. I was
that's
trying
right.
to do a close up.
So anyway,
Okay, so we chat him up as we're leaving. I'm like, oh, you can stay at my place if you want to. And did he get your number then?
No.
Okay, so then we got the email, started email, and then he gave you the number, correct?
Yeah, he was like, "Hey, it's a lot easier to get a hold of me." Here.
Craig texts me. He goes, "Big Daddy doing big things," or whatever. And I see it, and it's Doblin's number on his text message. And I'm like, God damn it, he's got Shane's number and Doblin's
I
number.
share him with you. Like once we
Please
build the
do.
rapport,
'Cause I can't wait to shoot them one out of nowhere. And be like, Craig gave me your number. What's up?
I knew I couldn't trust that fucking guy.
Yeah, I know. So, okay. So we've been trying to put this together to figure out something. We couldn't get a hold of the media people at the Drug Policy Alliance.
Yeah.
We always got a million things going on, so it's kind of in the background. Kind of, we still want to make sure we're doing big things. You got a hold of him?
Yeah.
Okay, so you got a hold of him. He said, I'll try to get you some time on Saturday.
Yeah, he was like, I'm wheels just touched down. I'm pretty booked up to the night. Saturday's probably the play.
And God bless Missy and you were babysitting a
baby.
baby.
And we talked about this too. Like, God bless both of our spouses because we basically said, hey, listen, this is our unicorn interview.
Yes.
But we don't know when it's going to be.
Thank
so
you, Betty, for babysitting.
No doubt. Thanks, Betty.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Betty.
I like you, Betty.
That's awesome. You chatted with her on the phone.
I had a little
quick
chat with
non
her.
sequiter.
I don't know if we
No,
want to
wait,
get the
oh,
details
wait,
of
okay,
it. Yeah. So here's looking at you, Betty.
I like you, Betty.
I like you, Betty.
Okay,
it's Danny.
So you get in touch with him.
Yeah, and he was like, and so we were just on the fly. We were like, man, best case scenario, we go there, boom, meet up with them, boom, get out of there, boom, back to our responsibilities.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
So we get there about noon, 1-ish or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're walking around. We're doing circles. We're going. We're like,
And the
maybe-
place is kind of cleared up by this point.
Yes.
Like a lot of the people.
There's a
already
lot
broke down.
going on. There's rooms where people are meeting.
No doubt.
There's like a
but like a
meetups
lot
and
of the, I think, one of our friends was like, most of the international speakers have already caught planes out of here.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like,
I had a good feeling. I was like, I feel like he's going to be walking around somewhere. And
No
Craig's
doubt.
like, I don't know, man. We caught the light show in the Grand Hall, which Union Station is bad to the bone now.
they're bringing it back, baby.
Went out and checked out the I'm like, maybe someone drug him out to the fucking Ferris wheel. Like, maybe.
We
Yeah,
looked everywhere.
Yeah, we did.
Think maybe he's getting some seafood at Landry's?
Yeah, let's go check Landry's out. So we do another couple circles. So now it's been 2 hours, 3 hours. We meet at the media room, which was the media room. No one's in there. We're like, okay, it's a great media room. No one's fucking in here, which I did put a few notes on those notepads underneath. Okay. So if you got one of those, you know what's up. So we're looking for him. We don't see him. I'm starting to feel bad. I don't think we're gonna find him, man.
Dude,
told
and
Craig,
I'm like, well, there's some cool booths here. There's
Yeah.
a maps booth. There's dancesafe.org was there. They're awesome. And I really want to maybe try and get Mitchell Gomez or somebody from there to come on the show and talk about Dance Safe because I think what they do is wholly important and really awesome.
Yeah.
But we're just gonna kind of walk around, and then there was also the Missouri talk going on with all our friends. We're like, we'll go down there. I'm like, maybe we can just take some pictures. We're gonna get something out of this, and we ended up with some really cool
look at
cards
those
from the Dance Save booth.
Those
and,
are
on
so
the back
cool.
of them, it gives you kind of an all about. I mean, these are really neat, man. They had them for just about every substance you can think of. It explains them all, like really
That
cool
is
stuff.
so cool.
So we're gonna we'll share those out. We'll make a little post and put those together. Anyway, dancesafe.org. They're awesome. Check them out.
Check them out. They're cool.
Donate if you can to them. I mean, I
please do.
it just anytime we can further along people that are. That's a group that's actively removing the stigma. Like, hey, people are going to do it, whether you make it illegal or not.
Yeah.
So what do we do as good humans? We want to make sure they're at least safe doing it.
Yep.
Test them.
And that ties in to the greatest thing. Rick said to me at least, was, we're always kind of feeling bad for asking people for money. Like, okay, donate to Dance Safe. What I asked Rick, I go, do you ever feel, because he talks about trying to get millions of dollars from people, and I'm like, fuck, man, do you
Maps
ever?
has raised over $75 million since their inception.
Because he says he's got to go to these galas, or maybe that's what he's going to in San Francisco, and he's like talking to these people, and he's like, I get to go to, he went to Tibet or somewhere. No, where'd he go? Mongolia. You got to go to Mongolia on one of these things where he's raising money.
Right.
And I go, do you ever feel kind of slimy or dirty about it? Because sometimes I feel bad. I'm like, hey, donate to this charity, donate to this charity, donate to this charity.
Right.
And it's like,
there's worse things you could be
exactly.
asking for.
I've come to grips with it that you're an asshole for
We've
asking
talked about
me.
it.
Yeah,
We've
you're
talked
an
about it a
asshole.
lot, man. Yeah.
For asking to donate to charity, okay, I guess that makes me an asshole. I am. But he goes, what you're doing is people are looking for meaning in life. He goes, everyone's looking for meaning. He goes, some people have money that they can turn into meaning.
Some people turn time into meaning.
Yep.
And
I was like,
some people that's
we're
kind
giving
of
them the
interchangeable.
opportunity as well.
No doubt. No,
And
that was a profound moment and a really cool thing that happened. So to kind of rewind a little bit, we're walking around. We're not, the place is kind of a ghost town, but we're going to make the most of it. We can't find them. All right, let's go up to the media room one last time. We go up there, empty as fuck.
Crickets.
Nothing. We're looking at every booth in the bar, everything.
Yeah, we looked in the restaurant.
Like we're walking through the restaurant, peeking around, like,
and every little,
and we were standing.
Little Caucasian guy. I'm like, is that him?
Yeah, we were standing at the exit, looking at the stairs at Union Station, standing at the exit.
Yes, I do want to go fishing
on the market side.
Craig, I gotta go.
And we're about ready to walk out, and I'm like, Steve, let's just walk the bottom one more time. And I know he's got to get going to get to the kids. I got to get going to get the bait.
I just told Betty, I'm like, we're getting ready to wrap it up.
Yep. Yeah, we're giving up. And then, like, we're walking through, and Steve, like, elbows me. He's like, dude, that's him. That's him. That's him walking right there. That's him. And I'm like, oh, shit, that is him. So he is on a beeline. He is hauling the fucking mail, and he's dragging his wheeled suitcase with him. And
it's just filled with MDMA.
So
he's leaving a trail.
Like, we'll catch him. We'll find him. He can't outrun us.
Little breadcrumbs.
We're just over there pumping a plant like that, whatever.
Fuck, Rick. Is this I'm naming this tree Rick?
So it looks like he's trying to maybe get to a cab. Like he looks like he's trying to get out of there and get to a plane.
Because you even made the joke. You go, I think he saw me. I was like, that'd be hilarious.
He's fucking out of there. He ends up going down to where the ballrooms where the Missouri talk was going, and then next to it ended up being an awesome talk. And it was minority women talking about how plant medicines have played into healing traumas.
Some bad motherfuckers in that room.
These gals are so fucking bad, dude. They were. It was so cool. And looking at them and seeing that we've probably grown up in incredibly different circumstances, and then the one gal starts talking about her first journey with psilocybin, and shortly thereafter, or this was right after she had found out that her mom was terminally ill. She's telling my fucking story, man.
You came out and
you're
like, whoa.
I'm in, man. But we had followed Rick into that talk, right? And he's sitting there. You're posting it. You're like live posting it because I'm just like, hey, look, I'm gonna bide some time. I'm gonna bide some time until he can get some of my musk.
I thought it was weird you were going like this.
Like, you know my smell, Rick. Follow the smell. No, so I'm like, so then Steve's getting a kick out. Like, he's actively ignoring you.
Yeah, I thought it was because I can see Rick going.
He's on his phone, and I'm like, my heart is just dwindling. Like, he doesn't give a fuck about poor little old me. But you know what? If I can wait him out, I'm gonna catch him for a second. And as soon as Steve texts me and says he's ignoring you, boom, I get a text. He's like, I'm still here. I gotta get on a plane at 4:30 so I can give you like 15, 20 minutes. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, we're just down in the ballroom shooting some B footage. And then I like walk in and I walk up in front of him and like get a better shot of what's going on in the panel. And then I turn around and then he's like, okay, well, I can come out there. And he's like, I'm in such and such. And I'm like, I know. I'm right behind you. And he turns around and gives me a little.
He did?
Yeah.
Yes.
And I'm like. And so then
he just takes his phone and puts it on rear cam.
Yep.
So
He's
he
like,
gotta
oh,
see
fuck, he is
yeah.
there. So it was awesome, dude. And you're getting everything set. We found a nice little nook.
Yes, found a
little
quiet,
nook.
a little couch, a little setup.
A little setup. It was great,
nice.
dude.
It was nice.
So when he comes, I'm like, well, hey, I'm just gonna be outside. We're gonna get all the sound, and everything.
Yeah.
Make sure everything's good. He comes out, all smiles.
Yeah.
Gives us the interview that. And honestly, I do wish I had an hour and a half with him. I don't know if anybody gets that kind of time with him, but I would love to get an hour with him.
I think if you get him on the Wolf train and stuff that he doesn't talk, you could tell he's like, I never get to talk about.
That's the deal.
This fucking
I actually
wolf.
wanted to bring a little bit
that
of that.
wolf was his life,
Right,
dude. Because
right.
at the end, I was
No
like,
doubt. He
did
was
he ever
heartbroken.
try to challenge you?
I wish we got that on film. I wish we got that.
Because that's a weird Steve question, like wondering if your pet wolf ever challenged you. Because I remember that show.
But if you're raising an alpha,
yes,
you know,
dude.
like
And he
that's
said
something
he
you
picked
need to be.
the strongest one, and he said he got he would visit him at the sanctuary.
Totally.
Where they had a female.
Totally.
And I go, did the wolf ever challenge you? And he's like,
actually, he did once.
one time. And I could tell he went deep in his memories and pulled that out like, whew, yeah, he did. And it was one of the saddest days of my life. But realizing that, I mean, to talk about a metaphor for fucking life.
Well, he said
dude.
he was struggling with it until he talked to his dad, and his dad said, "What's the big deal? You did it to me." And I'm like, oh, okay. Like, we missed this on the so you're right, dude. And I wanted to have some of that. I wanted to have some breakup questions that was because he is an interesting dude.
Encyclopedia, too.
He's an interesting dude. We have a group that cultivates psychedelic knowledge and cannabis knowledge. And so if I'm going to talk to Rick Doblin, we got to get some of the MDMA talk out of the way.
Yeah.
But damn it, if I don't want to do an hour with him just telling me stories. This guy's 21 years old, raising a wolf, running naked through the woods with him.
Fuck
like,
that.
This guy is, I mean, he's
It's
just so cool.
unbelievable.
He's so cool.
It is.
So it was a dream come true, man.
He was fighting the fight. We're fighting the fight now. We're like, yeah, hey, we're just the guys telling you the information about it. He was in the trenches with the fucking mustard gas, with the and the route that he's done it is so
that's what he prides himself on.
Intelligent, like
that's what he prides himself
and that's
on.
where I think like
he's like, I'm gonna beat him with science.
I always think the hippies were almost a detriment when it got to a certain point where they were like free weed and love. And
I
it's
think
like,
Rick Doblin looked at Timothy Leary with great respect, but said, you know what? He had all the knowledge. He just didn't have the delivery. We got to beat it from within the system. We can't damn the system.
Doubt,
because that's
dude.
how Timothy Leary ultimately got named public enemy number one.
No doubt.
His science was as good as anybody's, but he
No
threw shit in their face.
doubt.
You know,
And he had the flower
no
thing
doubt.
on.
He took
egged
it to
on,
he took it to
baby.
the nth degree. He became a celebrity of sorts. But then, way more power to him.
No doubt. I think that's
it was important, right? Like he became a rock star
Yes.
within the community. But Rick, I think, saw that and was like,
Yep.
No. We have this thing called the Constitution that so many people are so far removed from that I'm going to go and sit in front of these people and tell them about my rights as a citizen and how that pertains to this. And by the way, I'm also, in the meantime, I'm going to write a dissertation for my PhD talking about how to solve the double-blind study because I realize that it probably doesn't apply all that well to this, to this type of medicine. It's hard to blind. The blinding is very difficult.
That was a great question.
Dude, it was grinding on me in Michigan.
I know.
And I told you that. I'm like, God damn it! If I had a chance to, I should have got up when Rick was talking.
Yeah.
Like I asked the gal about Catancerin, and that was cool.
Was great.
That was great.
You got a fucking round of applause.
She got a round of applause.
No. You cocksucker.
You embarrassed me.
No,
you embarrassed me.
I was like, oh, good question.
Yeah.
People even you could hear them murmur, good question. Yeah. And she was like, oh, and I'm like, what the fuck kind of world do I live in?
So I just don't even know where we're going. After that.
You're asking the question. It was such a good
no doubt.
question
Like
at the end because he goes, give me a hard question. Come on.
I'm not a PhD. How's it handle with the serotonin receptor? And you know what I realized is I had an even more profound respect for him because he sat for every single speaker at the Michigan conference that we went to. And I promise you, if I asked you about Chris Timmerman's study on DMT, Rick would have been able to succinctly break that down for me. He's a brilliant, brilliant man. It got me juiced up. This week's been a whirlwind, dude.
Anyway,
the last couple weeks been a whirlwind.
We get the interview. It's great. It's over. Interview. We're over. We get to set. We're smiling. We're tearing down our stuff. I call my mom. I'm like, it's over. Thank you so much. We did it. I'm coming to get the boys. You're like, I'm out. We're done. Packing up all of our equipment. Heading out of Union Station, we do like one little walk down. We're through the big hallway, and he took off because he's got to be.
He's got a jet.
He's got to get out of there. So we said, "Thank you so much." Well, he's gone ahead of us. He's gone before us. Well, we get down and we see him again booking ass through this one corridor area, and we're like, "Okay." And then we see him, and he's booking ass across this like balcony
overpass.
thing.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, I don't know if this guy's lost.
A little turned around.
Because it was funny when I saw him, he was within earshot, and I'm like, do you remember when Rick said that thing? And I saw him, and I was like, immediately shut it down.
Fanboying directly behind him.
Yeah, I know, like, what an idiot.
But, buddy, I do want to commend you because you're uncanny. It's a superpower we have, but, man, you put the cherry on top because we put ourselves in places where shit kind of just – we put ourselves in the
I'm
flow
on a
state.
case of run good.
And, buddy, I know it. And you just saying, hey.
I'm like, hey,
Rick is fancy seeing you here.
He's sitting by the door, so we follow him. I'm like, he's just walking to the
now he thinks we're following, but actually
yes.
we were there before him.
Yes, like he came a weird route.
Yeah.
He took a hot route there.
Yes.
I don't know what he did. So he's on his phone. I can see him. He's got his luggage down. He's doing one of these. Like, I'm like, hey, Ricky, you looking for a ride or something, buddy? And he's like, actually, I am.
Are you serious?
And I go, yeah, I look at Craig, and Craig's kind of halfway out the door, and he's like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. So
I'm like, oh, I actually answered for Steve. He goes, are you serious? And I go, well, yeah, Steve just has to make a call to his babysitter real quick.
Meanwhile, I'm already dialing Betty. I'm like, hey, I can't explain what's happening right now, but just give me another hour. So we walked to my car. I'm like, so Ricky, this is how you loving St. Louis, a beautiful city, and we're yucking it up, making jokes, talking about like where he's got to go and shit. And I was like, I should.
And he's like, oh, you see that hotel down there?
Oh yeah.
Did you see that Hyatt right there? Like, yeah. He's like, oh, my grandfather was one of the original owners in the 50s. He goes,
just take me up there as a kid.
Yeah, he used to come here in the 60s all the time. It was before they built the arch, and then it turned out
to built that arch.
Yeah, it's like, put it right in my view. Yeah, I could see Monk's Mound from there before they put that thing there.
Fuck, dude. Yeah, so we're like, settle down on the arch, Ricky. All right. So we're kind of shooting the shit with them on the walk.
Don't come in my town, talk shit on the arch.
Don't fucking talk shit on the arch.
He wasn't talking shit on the arch.
I forgot I got to do with this.
Did you eat a lot of paint chips when you were a kid? Why?
It's on you. Thank you. Okay, so we get in the car. I'm doing that thing where I'm trying to clean out my car as fast as humanly fucking possible, throwing all the shit in the back. And you're like, hey, Ricky, just watch them fishing bowls up there. Hey, buddy, because I know my fishing shit in there. And then I didn't realize I got everything out except this fucking bag of Doritos at the end of the trip. Craig's like, hey, it was a nice power move making him sit on a bag of Cool Ranch Doritos up here. I'm like, I didn't even fucking see him. I thought I got everything. But on the way to the airport, just shooting the shit with them.
He was dropping knowledge all over us.
And he was asking us questions about our group. He was asking questions about you guys.
That's what I was going to say. It was almost as though there was a hint of pride in his demeanor. With just the way, like when we told him about this show and about this group, most importantly, and about these events that we have. Hey, Papa George, you think maybe you can tune into the show?
He doesn't have
I know, I get it. But you know, like we talk about this group and these cotillions and powwows and all of the get-togethers we have throughout town, and he was genuinely not just interested, but like. It just felt like he was proud, like hearing us talk about it. I think that's one thing it's great to be Rick Doblin because no matter where you go, people want to share how they're expanding on your work wherever you go. Because that's how I feel.
Doubt.
Like Rick, for me, there's been all kinds of psychedelic pioneers.
He's the stone in the water.
But like right now, as far as psychedelic quote unquote power players, he's the voice. When he released the TED Talk. It set the internet on fire. It wasn't the first. Like they call it the first TED Talk because TED Talk has banned a few. Graham Hancock's talked about DMT before.
Yeah.
But but Ted was willing to get behind it and make this one. This was him. This was it. And Rick was great in that as well. He's just tremendous. But for me, as a fan, as an admirer, I can look at him in the eyes and say, you are part of the reason why I choose to talk about this. You know, my experience is the main reason, but you make me comfortable talking about this. You give me you are making the science possible to give me the data to take to Thanksgiving dinner. You know, I'm not sorry about it one bit anymore.
And if anybody who would meet Rick and say they're staunchly against everything, Rick is such...
He might flip him.
He's the type of guy that you're like, I just fucking love this dude. Even if he reminds me of the epitome of I can disagree with you, but man, do I still fucking just like you.
Yeah.
Like, man, I just fucking
No doubt.
like you. Like and that's what a big problem in the world today is like, oh, fuck, I disagreed with one thing Mike was talking about his kid. You know, he's trying to instill that rule in his kid's life. Like, you can't just toss friends aside because of one thing. Like, value that shit. Value that shit. So anyway, so we drop Rick off at the airport and give him a hug goodbye.
A lovely embrace, by the way. That was that he initiated.
Not as awkward as Shane Moss. It's so funny because I told Craig afterwards, I go, we met Shane. And right when I met Shane, I could tell him and Craig fucking clicked. And I'm like, great. And then he starts putting on Spangle and shit. And I'm like, there's two of you fucking weirdos in the world. Like, give me a break.
After you guys went to bed, it got infinitely weirder.
I know, obviously. But then when I met Rick, I'm like, oh, and Rick, do I say that part of it? What we did? No.
Probably not.
No, we. Well, he likes to.
He was excited to have friends on the way to the airport and not a complete stranger.
Yes, exactly. So I felt like Rick and me. I was like, man, me and you. I feel like
No doubt.
like just jolly little dudes, like whatever. Just like,
no doubt. It was a really fun dynamic.
And the hug at the end, because when I hugged Shane, I was on a step down, and the dude is 7 foot tall. I went like this. And he kind of goes, it's a little way. Yeah, dude. And I was like, see you later. And the greatest part was Tony and Craig are watching this, and they immediately were like, you're from a mile away. Like, nope, not going through that shit. Not putting him through that. Like,
I've seen humans uncomfortable. It's like when they put Garth on live. And
it was exactly like that, dude. And I wish they could have just seen me because I was like, a big old smile on my fucking face, dude. But then when Rick at the end, he's like, get over here. Like, we were leaving.
Dude, and it was like this weird, it wasn't weird. It was this three-way hug that like, we just fit like puzzle pieces.
Yeah, we did.
And he was
into it. And then as he was like still looking at us as he was like walking away, and I whispered, take us with you.
And he laughed his ass off.
He's like, man, that was a good one. That's a good one to end on. And then Craig and I drive home in silence for 20 minutes.
For about 10 minutes, and then we look at each other like, what the fuck?
What just happened?
What's next?
What just happened?
Yeah. And I went home
Jack
with that.
Johnson needs a ride to Riverport.
Go get him. I wonder if you could bring your guitar because his 12 didn't make it. You're like, yeah, here you go. Like,
I got my fishing poles and my guitar with me at all times. Fuck me.
It was awesome, dude. We're gonna play that interview for you later. We're gonna end up clipping it down. It'll be shared out. A little bit easier to share for everybody.
And then Rick, as he's leaving, he goes, "Hey, yeah, when you get that video from the interview, send it our way, and Maps will share it out." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's cool. Maps will share it out with you. That sounds like a good time."
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, let's give a shout out to our sponsors before we go to break here in a little bit.
Yeah, because CBD Canvas Boutique and Dispensary, they built
the studio.
They built this studio.
They came
and they
here
allow
and
us to
physically
do things like
built it with a
That
hammer.
was crazy. How did they make stars? That's
well,
insane.
they painted it black and then they just drove directly into your white concrete walls.
Okay, that's
so
cool. That's cool.
No, guys, go to Maplewood or Arnold.
Maplewood
Canvas Boutique and Dispensary. Do they still have their little buy one get one deal going on?
I don't know, but bring your dog in there. I think you get a free bottle. We're working on a promo code right now.
That's the deal, guys.
Yeah.
Here's what's going to happen. We're going to get you a promo code.
Yes.
You're going to be able to go to CBDcanvas.com.
Yes.
And buy all of your highest quality CBD products at a steep discount.
Nice selection. Great selection.
They're awesome people too. They're so great.
Dude.
They're so great.
We're surrounding ourselves with some of the fucking most beautiful humans on earth.
We have this huge day that takes place at Union Station. We meet one of our heroes, one of our big, and simultaneously, Miss is working with Ashley Markham and the Mopop tour down in Festus, and hundreds of veterans and people showed up, and Miss said it was one of the most rewarding days of work in her life, helping people who really fucking needed it. Miss was there. I mean, and to get there and to see the sophisticated Hoosiers just represented. You know what I mean? Miss was there. Michelle Sanchez was there. Kyle Kisner was there. Ashley Markham. All these people who are so great, helping people out. She said hundreds of people came through there.
Damn.
Hundreds of people. So she was like, babe, it was one of the most rewarding days of work I had. And so both of us having these just tremendous days simultaneously coming back together, being able to kind of share those stories. It was, buddy, it gave me so much life. It gave me so much life. It got me so excited.
This is the big one. Gave me so much life. I'm dying. Should we take him to break?
Let's go to break for a little bit. On the other side, I want to talk to you about being banned from Facebook and why I didn't think it was that big of a deal.
And it's still fucking us right now.
Until it was kind of a big deal. We'll talk about it on the other side of the break. Thanks for sticking around. The Hoosier Sophisticate Show, 11:11, the Doblin. Stick around.
Hey everybody, I'm just making this post as a little public service announcement. I recently had a roof leak, and I got online and called the #RoofBoys. They showed up and they didn't have a truck. They came out of the woods near my home, which was odd. When they showed up, I'm pretty sure they were children. The little one was aggressive. He was beating on my garage. He was shirtless and had a tattoo that said Bug Life. And the older one didn't have a ladder and said he would climb my roof by getting on the pillar, and he was slapping a spatula around, which I don't know what a spatula does for roofing. So if you want a reputable roofer, I recommend you go to Lifetime Roofing and Renovation, located in Webster Groves. They've been around since 2005, and they're grown men.
Do you take our insurance and are you cannabis friendly?
Yeah.
And they all said no. And then at that last phone call, that 8th phone call, I was like, do you know anybody that is? I'm desperate. I've called 7 other people. You're my 8th phone call.
Yeah.
At this point, I'm crying my eyes out. And this lady just felt bad for me and said, hold on, let me call you back in a few minutes. And they called me back and they said that they would take him, but under a certain amount of conditions. And the main condition was that if they felt that cannabis was not working for him, then they would take him from us and put him in and Child Protective Services, and then they would take the other 2 kids too.
Oh.
Because they were both underage.
Then
and we would be charged with child endangerment.
So they go to federal prison.
Yeah, we would go to federal prison. So we said, bring them.
James Carlton Insurance 314.
961 4800. Handsome, amazing, astonishing, astounding, fabulous, incredible, fantastical, phenomenal, prodigious, stupendous, unbelievable, wondrous, divine, fantastical. No, seriously, he's fantastical. You got a house, go on and get it insured. You got a car, you gotta get it insured. You got a life, go on and get it insured. CarltonInsurance.net.
Come to privilege and not good price.
No, this is one of the best Cubans. I try a Cuban everywhere I go. And this is one of the best damn Cubans I've ever had. And we've got a little white cheddar mac here, with a little cracker mac. Life changing, incendiary.
Everywhere I go, I try the Cuban. This time I didn't. I got the grilled cheese bacon burger.
Look at that thing.
With put some pepper jack on there, some jalapenos. And we got some Pringles fries. And all I can say is, old baby, grow baby.
As you can see, this was once a delicious plate of coconut shrimps, and I devoured it. And if I had to say, if I had to give a review real quick, I'd say it's an orgasmic feast of the senses.
And I love meat. Let's see if those comments
do
are
that.
coming.
We can do that. Let's get some.
There we go. I'm at the Arnold CBD, 1444 Jeffco Boulevard, Monday through Wednesday, 11 to 7. Come visit Tiffany Jones. She
was at the event
great.
signing veterans up.
She's fucking great.
Get you some
Sorry.
pet CBD, guy.
Sorry, man. I get excited. My little tail's wagging. Kimberly Stegman says, I'm digging the new setup.
Well, it's been going on for a month. Kimberly, thanks for tuning in. I'm just now realizing it.
Buy one, get one of the teas. Salve bath salts. And the bath salts will make you eat your family's face off, which is awesome.
Not these bath salts.
Not these bath salts, okay?
That's not how
Other
you
bath
use
salts
them,
do,
okay?
But they said buy one, get one on CBD. Cho ladies? What are Cho ladies? Learn how to fucking
Cholates?
spell. No, I'm joking. I love you, Tiffany, so much. Craig, you eat Cubans?
Might want to lay low for a while.
Rob Glow is a fucking...
He's a funny dude.
Weird fucking dude.
I'm
and
a
I
big
dig
fan.
it. I
he's
dig that
He's
guy.
the best kind of fucking
His brain don't work like everybody else's. And I'm a big fan of people who aren't like, I just do. And I'm a big fan of people who do just follow the thing too. Okay, don't get me wrong. But Rob's one of those guys you're like,
hates all of you.
I fucking don't like people. I don't. I'm sorry.
No, I love that Rob's
cool.
always thinking about a different way,
Yep.
and not to mention bringing humor.
Yeah.
Like that's the deal.
Yeah.
You got. I love people with different ideas. Nice.
Oh, fruit fly.
Got him, I
Go
think.
from my sewer.
You got him, I think. No, anytime that you can bookend, a different train of thought, with some humor,
Yeah.
it makes it a lot more palatable. A lot more palatable.
He's got a little Dobby in him where I feel like he will get in on a conversation, not agree with the person necessarily, but has a great way of being like, you ever think of it like this? And the person's like, whoa, shit.
Maybe
Our
I
page is
haven't.
great for that shit, though, man.
No doubt.
I love that shit. I love
No doubt.
fucking motherfuckers, but I hate Facebook. I love you, motherfuckers, but
Loathe it.
why? You weren't very active. But I saw your buddy, or maybe you know him. I don't even know if he knows the guy.
This fucking guy moves in on my gal.
Polar, I
moves
know.
in on my. I'm gone
She
for a
announced
week.
that
I'm gone
she
for a
was-
week, and she gets engaged to some other dickhead.
I don't know. He's good looking though.
He's not bad
He's got like
looking.
an '80s like
the
Kenny
earring.
Loggins
He's
type
got-
deal.
oh, he does, kinda.
drives
Damn
an-
it.
drives an old Porsche or
I'm
something.
never gonna beat the guy
No,
that fucking wrote Danny's song.
You did interview Rick Doblin though, so
I
Greg,
did do that. So Greg, take a fucking hike, all right? Why don't you quit sipping on my Kool-Aid?
Jesus,
Listen,
Greg.
I caught a ban for the first
Why?
time in 10 years that I've been on this platform. I would love to tell you why. And if I got anything, it was an understanding for all these other people that have gotten bans, and I'm like, I don't know, just fucking don't post that shit that you know is going to get you banned.
Exactly, you've told people that.
But at the same time, Facebook does not tell you.
That's weird.
They didn't tell me. I'm not saying they don't. Maybe not on everything, because they've given us warnings as admins before, like this might not meet community
And they let
standards.
us-
And I'm like, well, I'll let
Oh,
you
yeah.
decide
I'm
that,
not trying
because
to-
they straight up tell us if we
We'll shut
approve,
you
if we
down.
prove a bunch, we'll shut the whole group down. I'm like, well, fuck, it ain't worth that for a meme, you know.
This one's really good though.
So
I'm gonna take my chances.
I shared one out, and I mean, was it sexually risque? I suppose, but not more than
I
like.
suppose.
But not more than like. I mean, there was nothing lewd.
It wasn't the French horn in the asshole.
You have to read into the joke in order to understand
meme
it.
that ever got shared on our page, the French horn in the
Yes,
asshole. That's
yes,
a
for
great
sure.
one, dude.
And it gets shared once a week,
Yeah, it does.
and I'm okay with it
Yeah.
every time.
And
It's what the reefers do.
The titties are gone.
They
The
made
titties are
it.
gone. The
Shout out to
tits
Stephen
gone.
Holman, buddy.
Yeah,
Fucking
yeah.
solidarity, brother.
Solidarity,
You
brother.
you did it, my man. You did it for over a week. Like, it lasted longer than my band.
Dude, okay. So you told me, it was Pinocchio.
It's the only thing I can assume
you
it
told
was,
me-
because there was like a cartoon gal on all fours,
Yes.
with Pinocchio standing right behind
Like
her,
a Cool
looking at her
World
ass.
type.
Okay, yeah, totally. And she
Working.
says, "Tell me Epstein killed himself." Right? Okay. You got to read into that joke a little bit, because Pinocchio's nose grows. Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
that's
you
a
guys
lot.
get it. You get it, but it wasn't like, I don't know, it wasn't
Like, fuck her with that wooden nose,
Yeah,
you pig
yeah.
fuck.
You
Like,
pig.
Yeah,
yeah,
Jesus
sleep in it.
Christ.
Yeah, it wasn't anything like that. I thought, I'm under the assumption
Jiminy Cricket.
I'm
like-
under the assumption that's what got me banned.
Yeah, you told me. I
Okay.
think that's what did it.
Here's and which is strange.
Then 2 days later,
because on our page, another patron put the exact same
weird.
meme, and it got liked 65 times and wasn't removed. And I mean, this
Facebook
was like
seemed to boost it in the algorithm.
almost And, like, it was definitely showing up at the top of the page. So I'm legitimately confused. I don't give a fuck. I was actually thinking about taking a social media sabbatical.
Yeah.
But then
It's
I
hard,
realized
You
that
can't.
our Hoosier Sophisticate business page is linked to my personal account.
Yep. So you can't do that.
So
dude.
not
Fuck us.
only, but you're also an admin of that page,
Yeah,
and
so
owner
Seth,
of that
yeah.
page, and Seth is too. So should be able to still work. Last week we found out that, and tonight we're still paying the
Yeah.
repercussions for this, that we're not able to stream directly from our business page.
I don't get it.
And we can't seem to figure it out. So I was frustrated with the ban for that reason, because I'm sitting there and I'm like, I've given too much power to this platform. We have given too much power to this platform. And if we think about it even bigger than Facebook, I mean, YouTube could do this at any time.
Totally.
You know, Twitter could do this at any time. And so, you know, it's a problem that you and I think it's in our minds at all times. Like, how do we move this entire community? I understand that Facebook is just like, it's just a thing that people do now. Like, it's logged into on average like 20 times by every user a day. It's connected to your hand. So I understand that's where people is, and so that makes it easier for them to. But if this group, and we've seen it at Cotillion, we've seen it at our get-togethers, we've seen it at our fundraisers, if this group can mobilize and we can move them to just say our website, where we stream from our website, we'll set up a chat and everything there. I feel like we would have more.
Oh,
power
yeah,
over it.
HoosierSophisticate.com. We just house everything there, and once we
And
we
that's
get
where
that,
the
and that's
community
good.
just gathers.
Then we're only beholden to the internet at that point. And something happened to you along the way that we get all of our fans over there. Okay, we do. Great. But still, what happened to you?
It's
Facebook made a very important decision in your life that they said this instance that you did whatever.
Yeah,
was
which I don't know how to atone for because I don't know exactly what I did wrong.
They said you did more harm to the world than the good
that I could have done.
That you could have done.
And that's where this became bigger than just Hoosier Sophisticate. This became bigger than the show. All of those things are frustrating, but we've found ways around it. You guys are watching it now. We're coming live from Steve's page. There's different ways we can do it. You
CBD
can catch
Canvas
us on
Boutique
YouTube.
Studios.
CBD Canvas and Boutique Studios. Dispensary
They built
Studios.
it.
They built the whole thing by hand. But I had an event happen last week where I found out that a kid I went to grade school with, and for anybody that knows us, you already get it, but for those that don't, our little tribe that went to Resurrection of Our Lord grade school in South City, St. Louis is tight, man. Like it is, I'm friends with every kid I went to grade school. We spent every day together for 10 years. And I think so many people can relate to that.
Oh, yeah.
That grew up in parochial schools.
They were each their own little trench.
Yeah, for sure. St. Boniface would have been on the other side of the world to me. But in reality, I mean, I could walk there now.
No
you
doubt.
know what I mean? I don't know if I want to walk there now, but I could walk there now. But so we have this tight group. But I realized that really the way that I'm connected to all of these people from my past, and we find ourselves all over the globe, or not just the Resurrection crew, but everybody. Facebook is the primary way that we communicate, that we are connected to one another. A buddy of mine from grade school's dad died. It wasn't made public on social media, but it was a perfect opportunity for me, being a friend from the past, to message all of the kids that I know did not know about this because it happened kind of all of a sudden. And the few people that I had, numbers for, I texted them, and every single one of them was like, "Oh my God, I had no idea."
I know,
but I texted them at a point where, because I found out kind of late to the game too.
Yeah, it's noon the day of.
Yeah, and
I'm
like, So I go to this funeral, and I realized that I was actually, it didn't really hit me until afterwards when I felt kind of helpless. And I understand it's not my cross to bear to let people know, but it's something I would have done. It's something I could have very easily created a quick group with everybody. And now that I'm like this Greg Polar guy, if I'm shooting a group message to all these people that I'm not now friends with on Facebook, it doesn't go into their message inbox. It filters them to the side, like message requests. Yep. I
haven't seen those.
I know
for
that if I could have
months,
I know that if I could have put a block out there, not only would people be more likely to go, they really would have wanted to go. Everybody that I talked to like an hour or two before it was happening. Like they're just getting off work, they're trying to figure that out. I think my kids are getting out of school for this snow. Unbelievable.
Oh, jeez.
One more day with them. Jeez. So I have no. So I go to this wake. I have not seen Ben, and shout out to Ben. Bob Sider was a great dude. Our community, our family that made up this class, all of our dads and moms were our dads and moms, and no matter where you were at, it was like being home. And we all played with each other immediately after school was over. Go home, drop our book bags off, change out of our uniforms, meet back up at school to play some fuzzball or some football. It was like every day, we were just a family. And I had so many little profound thoughts while I was sitting both at the wake that night and then at the service the following day, hoping that maybe I could let enough people know that maybe they can make the service. And I was rendered kind of helpless by Facebook, and I was like, never again. Like all of these, now that I have this tool back, I want to message all of these people and say, give me your number. I'm setting up a group text for all of us, not a group text maybe because those get a little out of hand, but like an emergency group text line. Like everybody wants to know.
Well, Facebook has become that for us.
Yes.
It's so convenient that it's a balance. How much power do you give it? Because you've given it all the power. You're a logical person. You've come up with all the ways that you could have gotten if you would have made certain steps. That I didn't need Facebook to do that because we're talking about like our moms and stuff. They remember people's numbers or looking up stuff like that. So it's a whole different generational thing. We just learned to rely on it. But I don't think it's Facebook's fucking decision to say, hey, you're banned for 5 days because you did something so fucking mind-blowing that you posted a meme that kind of had a sexual tendency in your own fucking group of people who have made the choice to be in this private group with you, that they said they weighted that heavier than you being able to get the message out to these people who could have went to this kid, this man, and said, "Hey, man, I'm fucking devastated by your loss, and I'm here for you."
Yeah.
They took away that chance for you
I
by
went
doing
there-
that because they deemed that what you were doing was just,
Yeah.
you're making the world a worse place. But it fucking pisses
there
me
are
off.
a couple of things that I just wish that Facebook could do with their current rules in place that they have that would just make the experience that much better. One, all bans or anything can be subject to some kind of appeal process. I didn't even get to argue with bots. I had no way of asking what I did, how to atone for it. Why is it that I'm being punished? I had nothing. I searched all over Facebook looking for.
And then they wouldn't let you do certain functions on Greg.
When I actually found, I could not post any new posts from Greg. I could comment, I could like, but I could not post any new.
So they're getting
comment or
deeper
anything.
into the.
No doubt. And so like that because I try to log on from my phone probably has the same IP or something like that. And once that happened, it was completely shut down. God. So it was frustrating, but so I wish that A, I had a way to appeal it, and B, I wish that as an admin of a group, I could select the settings.
Yeah.
And we make it very well known when people join our group that we don't police speech. And the way that we kind of the group does is by engaging in debate or outwardly just like not engaging with bad content. Like every now and then we'll get someone will kind of try and throw a very divisive political meme in there and it's like, you know what, there's 10,000 places on Facebook you can go and have that conversation. And our group is just really good about
our fans don't interact with it.
They just let it sit there. And you know
'Cause it'll
what?
be gone.
And then the poster will be like, oh, this isn't where I do that. Rather than us be like, nope, you can't, we're going to ban that out of here. And then they're like, oh, you guys are keeping speech down. Don't want to do that.
Yeah.
But if I can just say, hey, Facebook, all memes are okay. And if it's shitty, or give us the choice. Yeah. If we can ban it or whatever, but don't automatically with algorithms ban shit. That takes the entire. What's the point of being an admin? What is the point of that?
Is Facebook getting sued for hate speeches? I mean, I saw the article when I think it was in I don't want to say Bhutan, but that's one of the most happy places.
It's the happiest place.
Yeah, okay. Maybe Bahrain, somewhere where there was an election, and Facebook was allowing certain political parties to post things about other ones, and they had it was a bunch of hate speech, but the bots didn't know some of the languages that they were posting it in, so it became this whole different thing. I just don't get why Facebook can't say, click on this button if you want the plus 18 version of Facebook, or click this button if you want everything that might be a little risque wiped away.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
that's so
give me
simple,
a toggle.
Because what happens? I see something that's posted by you. I can contact a lawyer and sue Facebook. That's what I'm saying. Like,
it doesn't
What's the thing with the ban?
The thing is that it doesn't even remove someone's ability to report me or to, you know what I mean? Like, someone could still very easily report to the admin something that they felt was
yes, no doubt.
So why take that function away from a group that is a private group?
Yes.
It's not a secret group, because a secret group shit gets shared in there, dude. That is fucking definitely doesn't follow any Facebook.
Oh, really?
Oh, for sure. Like, that's where those memes come from. That's the other thing that pisses me off. You might share something and it'll have 1,700 likes on it. It's been shared 682 times, and you're like, and then I shared it once, and it's what is that shit?
Facebook's been on a rampage lately, though.
Yeah,
I have
no
seen
doubt.
so many file not found.
Yep,
yes,
content not available.
More of that now.
I think they're
ever.
killing themselves, and I don't.
They
think
know that.
I don't think they care.
They know that.
Instagram is the new platform.
Yes,
for
we
them.
just talked about that.
But
the
you
other
know
day.
what? If they keep logically following this down, they're going to start policing what kind of pictures you can post on Instagram. And then what? Like, that's the deal. That's why people are going to move to the blockchain.
We'll just
This
have the free
newer
internet.
generation, This newer generation, this up and coming generation, is not going to know the internet like we know the internet.
No way.
They're going to exist in a decentralized, blockchain internet, and it's going to be awesome because it's going to wrestle some of that power back. But right now, it's happening so gradually that people are only comfortably disgruntled. But so I learned a lesson, right? Like I've given Facebook too much, so. Now do I stop being me? Do I stop pushing the envelope with what I post? I guess I do, right? Like, okay, I'm not going to share the memes, whatever.
Yeah.
But when does that carry over to my videos, or when does that carry over to our content?
Yeah, like something you said in your video.
If that happens, are we mobilized to the point where it's like, will we be able to communicate to our group that, hey, they shut us down? Do
you think? Okay, say, I don't think this happened, but say for instance. Disney contacts Facebook and says, we want all the fucking princess, all of our character memes scrubbed for this amount of money. And that's
maybe
part of why, because I'm just trying to figure out from Facebook's angle, if I created Facebook, I would say, yeah, fucking post. It's just a place to post shit.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone posts on it. If humanity rallies around a clan leader and does whatever, takes over the world, the worst human being ever. I don't know. I gave humanity the option to do what they wanted. That's where I'm living.
Well, I think that's the idea.
Good.
I think that's the idea of free speech, and I think that's the idea of why it's kind of dangerous. Like cancel culture is dangerous and all of that. Like I certainly am not like too ignorant to understand why people have triggers and don't want to see certain kind of speech and thing like that. But I also am firmly in the camp that the more you try and keep it on the underground, the more life you give it, the more you stoke the fire. It's almost like when you let it breathe, we've gotten to a point now in society where the pushback on the cancel culture is when it's kind of thrown in your face. But when people, we talked about it earlier with homosexuals coming out and hopefully psychedelic users coming out, like, When the idea becomes that these are our neighbors and that what we're holding on to is fear, because when it gets censored, it gives people something to be afraid of. That's the deal. It stokes these fires inside of people. They're like, well, you're trying to keep my religion quiet. You're trying to keep my beliefs quiet. No. All of these beliefs exist in the same space, and you're going to learn to understand that, or you're going to be called out for it.
Yeah.
So I have no problem with the idea of cancel culture calling out whatever offends them. That's fine.
Yeah.
I think that there's some room for growth there certainly, but I don't believe like if we're allowing them to call it out, that's great, but not allowing people to fucking say something to be called out it's not okay.
Yep.
It's not okay because that stokes that ember. That whatever that little ember of hatred that they have inside of them, the more and more people tell them, I want the bigots out in the open. I want to know who I'm
the devil
potentially.
Yeah,
I want to know who's the fucking bad guy.
No doubt. And sometimes I think people who maybe even myself, when you grow up in ignorant situations, sometimes when words come out of your mouth that are ignorant, you can think an ignorant thing all day long. And then you get a little toothpaste or something.
Oh.
And so you think something all day, ignorant. And then once you actually say it, you're like, oh, that was fucking ignorant. So sometimes it takes saying words out loud to realize what an asshole you are, or saying something and someone goes,
1,000,000%.
oh, did you think about it like this? And you go, oh, I was kind of a fucking asshole. I didn't even think of it like that. Because I never thought of the Facebook ban in the way you spoke about it with, I never would have thought of that situation. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, oh, big deal.
Yeah,
Fuck, I get a week off.
Cool. And
I
then,
get a week
then
off.
you needed something to be able to contact people quick. And that's what the system is built for.
No doubt.
Nope, couldn't do it.
Couldn't do it.
Sorry.
And so it bummed me out. Okay, I learned a lesson. It's fine. I learned a lesson. Then if we can kind of pivot from that, segue from that to the actual funeral. So this is now, I guess, including my dad, this is the third dad of our group that's passed, And Ben was a kid that wasn't super athletic. Like there was a core. There was probably 12 boys in the group, and maybe 3 of them didn't play all the sports or whatever. And so out of all of those kids, I would say I saw maybe Ben the least, always loved him. Super sharp kid, out at recess and stuff. He would go hard playing soccer, but he just wasn't on. But he and I were in the Scouts together, so we had that bond. And, growing. And I always remember Ben's mom a lot, but I just remember his dad was always working, I didn't know Bob Sider. Bob Sider was the only one of the dads who had a beard, and he was just different than all the rest of the dads. And maybe he wasn't at the sports games. He wasn't always talking sports. We talk about this all the time. How much of my identity was made up of that. So I go there, and I honestly only remember Bob a few times from my childhood. And so going to this, I was going there for my friend. I was going there for Ben. I was going there for Katie, for Bobby, and for Debbie, and to be a proxy. My mom couldn't make it. It bummed her out. She's in Springfield. I'm happy to be the patriarch of my family. At least somebody. I'm happy to be that person, especially having lost my father and how much it meant to me to see, friends from the past just come by and say, "Hey, just thinking about you." So I walk in, with a little bit of perspective, knowing that if nobody else shows up, I can at least be there and say, hey, I know how much this fucking sucks. Because it does. I don't have any sage advice. Every day I'm still trying to figure out what it means to, or what it is to not have my dad's, guidance in my life. And, so I ask him how he's doing, because even having gone through this experience and hearing the questions that frustrate you when you hear them 1,000 times a day, and at a funeral when people are like, well, just let me know if you can do anything, or I'm really sorry this happened. And you're like,
I always go, how's it going?
That's exactly. So I'm like, how you feeling, bud? And that's where I'm at. And honestly, it is what I'm most concerned with. How you feeling? And he's like, not good, man. And I'm like, yeah,
it's okay.
Yeah, you want me to sit here and I'd love to lie to you and tell you it gets better quick, but it doesn't. And all I can tell you is how you feel now is how you're supposed to feel.
Yes.
And there's going to be a random Tuesday when you're sitting at your desk and you're going to think of your dad and you're just going to start crying. As a grown-ass man, you're going to start crying. And what this is, what we're doing, it's that. So just lean into that shit. Be that emotion in that moment. Let your dad feel you in that second. Let his soul be yours for just a minute. And as that happens more and more, it feels a little better each time. And you realize that you're not as far removed from him as you thought you were, because his body's not here anymore. And so that. Other than that, I don't have any answers. I don't know shit. I'm still, trying to figure out what it is to be a dadless, kid in the world, 35-year-old kid in the world,
You want to try some DMT, bro?
Yeah. You want to do it right here? So I go in there, I go into the wake. I just make some small talk with Ben for a while, just hopefully give him a little escape for a minute.
Yeah.
Give my condolences to his brother and sister and his mom, and
try to sell
make
him
my
some
way
shirts,
out there.
tell
Yeah,
him about
told
the
him
show.
about the show. I left some cards up there next to Bob's prayer cards.
Oh shit!
I mean, you got to capitalize on the real estate.
Thank you.
So I went to that and I'm like, I didn't see anybody else there from our grade school.
Yeah. Fuck.
I didn't see anybody else there from our grade school.
Oh, are you shaming everyone a little bit, or what's going on?
I didn't see anybody else there from our grade school.
Okay.
No, I wanted to be there. And funerals are, everybody handles funerals differently.
Yeah.
My experience with my dad has changed my mind about death in general. Yeah. I always remember being a kid and seeing all of the stoic dads, and I'm like, when does that happen? Because I can't get through one of these fucking things without crying.
Totally, dude.
What happens? What happens
my
inside
dad wept
of you?
at a couple, and I was like, oh.
Only the first time I ever saw, I saw my dad cry twice, and once was at his dad's funeral, and it was just one fucking tear, and he had a rose that he was putting on. I saw my dad cry 3 times, actually, now that I think about it. But one of them was towards his end, and, so anyway. I just remember
one of them when he realized just who you were as
in
a
general.
person.
You? This is what I got. Damn it!
Streaming down his face.
Damn it!
That was the second time.
But I've been to I think 3 funerals since my dad's died, and each time it's a surreal experience. It enriched me going there and knowing what Bob made my friends, had this beautiful wife. They were such a great little family and staple in the parish.
Yeah.
But not knowing Bob all that well. So I go to this funeral, and he's got we sit down, and it opens up. The guy from Cutis says a prayer, and then he's like, we're gonna start with the song, and I'm sitting there in the back pew, and to everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And I'm like, I've never listened to this song in this light before. I love this song. It's a great tune. Birds, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
On Forrest Gump soundtrack, just a solid old
solid
60s
tune,
folk
dude.
rock tune. But now I'm hearing it in the scope of this guy's family sitting in front of him, and he's just letting them know, hey, it's the end of this season, but there's another season right around the corner.
Yeah.
And so I had seen these really cool pictures of Bob and Debbie, like from the 70s, and I'm like, oh, Bob was the dude. Bob was the dude. His style, man. This guy was so fly. He would definitely have come to Cotillion, man. He would have definitely come. And like
him and Rick.
This is what's happening to me. Like as I, and so I watched that, and then Bobby goes up, gives a great little eulogy for his dad. And, they played a couple more songs, and I just remember watching how that impacted, his family.
Yeah.
And thinking about now who his family is, and we talk about working out in concentric circles all the time. And during Bobby's eulogy, he was talking about, every year I would call my dad and ask him what he wanted for Father's Day. And he said, "Man, I just like maybe a visit and a hug." And I'm like, that's all I'm ever asking for father, because my family's always
a GoPro.
Like, yeah, hoverboard. You give me a hoverboard,
a hug. Fuck off with that.
Fuck off with a hug. No, so I just remember thinking, this guy was probably like, now that sports aren't this big thing in my life, which was all of our dads, and that was what they were into, and that's what we bonded around and everything.
Yeah.
Bob was at Bull Shoals, poles in the water.
Oh, man.
He's probably just,
Hell yeah.
he was just, I think Bob just had it figured out, and I didn't know Bob well enough to ascertain that, but just by looking at these pictures, looking what he's made, and just how calm I always remember him being, I'm like, Bob was the dude. Yeah. So here's to Bob, man. Here's to Bob Sider. He raised a great family, man, and I'm better for having gone to it. I went back and talked to a buddy of mine about it, and being able to share that experience. And we always talk about the psychedelic, and the psychedelic is not a drug-induced state. The psychedelic is this thing that exists that is very hard to put into words. If words didn't exist, I'd tell you all about it, Steve-O.
Yep, I love
You know what I mean? So, to the psychedelic is that understanding of life in that moment. If you can just take a snapshot of it, and that feeling, like we've talked about, art on a canvas is great. A song is great, but that first time the guitarist and the lead singer and the bassist, that first time they click and that thing makes sense, like in that exact moment, that Lebenskunst. Shout out to Ryan Watts.
Yeah.
Inside that moment, that is the art. That is the psychedelic. That's the thing that takes more than one sense to describe. And
the magic.
And it happens. It happens in all kinds of different facets of life. It might happen during a medicine journey. It might happen through meditation. It might happen when you take an hour out of your day and just go honor the life of somebody you didn't really know. And that's what happened for me. So I like to. It's almost like I have an internal scoreboard of all of these. I base the value of my life based on how many of these profound experiences I get to
life,
have.
buddy.
That's the psychedelic, right? That's what I want to. That's my currency.
That's he who has the most toys or whatever at the end wins or whatever. I consider those my toys.
No doubt.
Like how many moments I got
No
to
doubt.
have like that before I
No
perish.
doubt about it, man.
Like, and Aubrey Marcus was talking about today on Twitter or on his Instagram, was talking about emotions, like feast or famine. You got to find the balance, and we are emotions. We are feelings. It's okay to feel those things. You shouldn't hide from those feelings. Base yourself in those feelings, but you don't have to, you don't have to fucking live them.
No.
You don't.
You are not your feelings.
Yes.
You can. And I feel like the more separated you get from those, the more that you're able to just experience those feelings versus letting them.
Yes. rule you.
Yeah, make decisions for you.
Yes.
Make decisions.
But it's
for you.
okay to feel that. Like,
it's
do it.
It's encouraged.
Yes.
That's what the human experience is.
It's pretty neat. I'm glad you got to do it.
It's
I'm
the circumstances suck.
Yes.
The circumstances suck, but I hope, and it's happened to me. It happened to me with my dad's. If that's the gift, if that's the parting gift that I can give my kids, hopefully I've given them the strength and the understanding that we're able to, at the end of this journey, they will have understood that I did with it what I wanted to do with it. Yeah. And because of that, maybe they'll find whatever that thing is so that they do with it what they want to do with it. And I don't have to, I'll always be here for it. They can always tap into me. And I do it every day. My brother and I talk about this all the time. What would Dad think about it? It's not some people, what would Jesus do? That's fine. I can't tell you how many times what would John do? Or what would John think? What would John say? How would he respond? That's my dad living with me, and that's something that, I think Ben's going to experience. And I think, all my buddies, my buddy Chad, shout out, when Ray Hayflinger won a couple years ago, like these people were very important to me. Some of them, more present than others, in my everyday existence, but all of them helped create this framework that I grew up within. And it's the least I can do to go to that altar and say, thanks, man.
Yep,
Thanks.
Your monkey meat suit voyage is over.
Yeah,
can't wait to.
You put in your time.
Yeah.
Thanks for putting in your time.
Yep.
Thanks for making this place a little better
Thanks
for me.
Creating beauty.
Thanks for being just a tiny part of my story.
Yeah.
Because I hope that when people read yours, I hope that there was just this crazy character that came through and like, I'm happy being the Muff Potter in anybody's story.
The editor's going to omit you real
no
quick.
doubt. But any time, though, and I like to think, I feel like if we approach our day-to-day activities like, hey, just, be that funny character that somebody's like, you're not going to believe. Dude, you're great at it. When we go to 7-Eleven or something like that, you do live that way. You go to 7-Eleven, you're telling jokes that you've been telling your friends for 30 years. Like, you've known this person for not even 3 seconds, and you're cracking that same joke like you've known each other forever.
At 7-Eleven, they talk to Jen. They're like, your husband, he's so funny and nice when he comes in here. And I'm like, oh, that's like the fucking best compliment I could get from the lady at fucking.
No doubt.
Because I can tell she, I'm sure everyone's a dickhead. So I just go there like, hey, how you feeling? Yeah.
Sure.
And this is how you become every clerk's best friend. Like, what? Did they ever give you a day off? Did they ever give you a day off? And they're like, I know.
My buddy Bobby Troubles, he used to.
I love that name.
Bobby Troubles, he's a character, man. But he taught me how to do the opposite with toll booth operators.
Okay.
If you ever didn't want to make friends with them, like, because we'd always be delivering these limos across like the Pennsylvania Turnpike. It'd be like 1 a.m. or something. It's late in the middle of the night. He rolls down his window to pay the toll and. Like, hey, how late you guys open? And you can tell like this person just checked into their shift. And like this fucking guy asked that stupid ass question. Yeah, it's like Seth asking for a cigarette every time we go outside.
I hate you, Seth. Love you, Seth. We miss you. All right, should we go to another commercial break? What do we got after the commercial break?
We got some streaming picks. We got an interview. We got the weather.
Weatherman.
We got the weather.
We had crazy weather too.
We've got some crazy weather, and you're going to want to stay tuned to see what's going on in the St. Louis Metro. Stick around. Hoosier Sophisticate Show 11/11/19. The Doblin.
Hey Hoosiers and Hoosierettes, have you ever been to Maplewood? Well, I have. And I went to CBD Cannabis Boutique and Dispensary. Oh look, there's the good Dr. Tiffany Jones. She is literally the greatest human being on earth. CBD Cannabis Boutique and Dispensary are holistic pioneers in the CBD oil, CBD flower, and hemp marketplace. Cannabis Boutique and Dispensary provides the St. Louis and surrounding communities with the highest quality CBD products available, including organic CBD oil cartridges, CBD gummies, CBD tea, and other CBD edibles. People ask us all the time,
where can I get some CBD? My bones hurt.
Well, you know what? Go ahead and check out cbdcanvas.com. They have an amazing website with all the information on there. Hoosier Sophisticate loves CBD Canvas Boutique and Dispensary. Carve it in a tree. Actually, don't. I think that hurts the tree. Get your CBD. Make me feel better.
James Carlton. James Carlton. James Carlton. You gotta get James. Gotta get that State Farm insurance.
You think you found the best insurance agent in the game? But I got news for you. I did, and it's James Carlton. State Farm. CarltonInsurance.net. Lifetime Jill. Lifetime Jill. Lifetime Jill.
It's so good.
I've been getting storm damage. I've been getting estimates. I've been getting door hangers. I've been getting my dream shattered around every time I go to Google. I check out reviews. All those 5-star ratings make me wanna go with you. Please, oh Lifetime, please, will you let me be your boo? I just want you to fill me with that precious, precious knowledge. Precious knowledge. Most knowledgeable roofers in the game. They got 5-star reviews. They got 5-star reviews. Yeah.
Hey girl, where you wanna go?
I don't care, I just love you.
Are you hungry? Do you wanna get something to eat?
I don't care, I'm kinda hungry.
Well, what sounds good?
Anything sounds good, you pick.
How about some Mexican?
Now I had that for lunch yesterday.
How about we get some Italian food?
Ew.
Okay, now you're not saying anything, just
I
giving
just
me a
want
look.
something delicious.
What does that even mean?
I wanna sit outside.
Applebee's?
Applebee's?
No,
Gross.
Applebee's.
I'm not eating
Good. I don't know
Applebee's.
why people always
Applebee's
frown on
fries are
Applebee's.
disgusting.
One of
They're
my favorite car
gross.
places to go.
I'm not eating Applebee's.
I wanna go to Truman's. Let's go to Truman's. Tonight, go to Truman's. I wanna go to Truman's. Tonight, take me to Truman's. We agree on Truman's. I love Truman's. I love Truman's.
Truman's and Soulard, a place we can all agree upon.
Hey Hoosiers, how you doing? Weatherman Mike here. It's Monday night. We got a low of 11 tonight. It's gonna be fucking cold. You got about 10 to 20 mile an hour wind going on out there. I just came back from break. Holy shit, it's fucking cold. Tuesday, we got a high of 24 tomorrow. Tomorrow, I hope you're working inside. Got mainly sunny. There might be some clouds coming in, 10 to 15 miles an hour. Low of 15 tomorrow. Very cold, not as cold as tonight. Got a high of 39 on Wednesday. Partly cloudy, low of 28, 5 to 10 miles an hour. Thursday, high of 39. You know, there's going to be some clouds, maybe not. Low of 20. Friday, high of 44. It's a decent day, maybe. Low of 24. Winds, you know, they're variable. You know, clouds might be there. They might not. Saturday, we got a high of 45, low of 29. Same as, you know, Saturday, or Friday. Same as Friday. All right, that's Weatherman Mike. Gonna take it to break, Steve.
Time for the Weatherman dance-off. Yep, you gotta mimic. This is where Mike tries to move over and mimic the dance moves. Weatherman Mike, let's see what you got. Come on, you got this.
Do I gotta watch it first?
No, just do it. You're supposed to be doing it at the same time. Come on. There we go. Yeah. Oh, shit, get back. There you go. Shit. All right, Weatherman Mike with the weather. Shit, that was awesome, dude. These are on.
As a gay college student lay hospitalized in critical condition after a severe beating, this small city, which bills itself as Wyoming's hometown, wrestled with its attitudes towards gay men.
Yeah, so Craig tells me, he's like, hey, man, I'm going to make us a little intro video for Hoosier Sophisticate. And I'm like, well, that was interesting. You get it, though, how you can get lost in the lab.
It started as something completely different.
No. You went through it with my police
completely
police videos. I go, hey, Craig, I'm going to make like a short little clip video. I had a 17 minutes Requiem for a Dream sound scored a video that you're like, I thought you were making a little thing. You get it now, don't you?
I can't. You can't.
You get it. He gets it.
There's no such thing as a 30-second video, Steve. They don't exist.
Nope.
They don't exist.
Everyone loves Weatherman Mike. Corey,
they should.
The Canvas Boutique and Dispensary, Maplewood and Arnold, soon De Pere, gives 40% off New Leaf Large Bottle for loved ones diagnosed with autism and 20% off products for veterans.
Every day.
We have my cannabis research-based blogs back up at cbdcanvas.info. Her blogs, we got to start discussing them on the show.
We will.
We'll do it. We'll
make it a week. That's going to be the CBD Canvas Boutique and Dispensary
blog
news
review.
of the week. Blog review.
So
good. I hope that you have one every week for us, Tiffany.
I love judging Tiffany.
Yes, hey, let's give a shout out to the veterans for today.
We did it, Mike.
We already did that.
Did
Mike.
we? I'm sorry.
Just checking the dirt on the rotary.
Mike.
Ooh. Let's talk about dancesafe.org.
Okay, do it.
Guys, we had an opportunity to talk to some really cool people at the Dance Safe booth at the Drug Policy Alliance Reform Conference. And I just think that the work that they do is super important. We talked about them a little bit before. So Dance Safe, you can send off to them. I believe they'll do testing for any kind of drugs that you have.
Yep.
They have a whole protocol to do that. I think go to dancesafe.org.
They go to festivals?
Yeah,
and stuff?
Definitely. They'll be at festivals. Usually they'll have some kind of harm reduction tents.
What was the thing MAPS does?
The Zendo project.
Zendo.
Yeah, the Zendo project is same vein. People that are psychedelic harm reduction, basically.
How can you have one of those when psychedelics are illegal, Craig? You shouldn't take care of the people who are
right. And that's the idea, right? Like people are going
go
to
to
do
Narcansaw.
Tex
Tex Narcana.
Narcana.
I got it in. I snuck
You
those
did.
jokes in.
You got him in, buddy.
Thank you.
I just thought that what was really cool. They had some cool posters. They had these awesome 5x7s. Those all these little postcards. They had some original signed blotter art from Android Jones. It was just really awesome, man. It was super cool. I think that the work that they do is worthy of being discussed often. I think people should know about it. Test your medicine. You know what you're doing. Be safe about it. If people are going to do it, there's a way to be safe about it. And I think that's the message they're trying to get out. Dance Safe is awesome. DanceSafe.org.
Dance Safe love kitties. Dance Safe love the kitties. Dance Safe love the kitty. Who loved the kitty?
Simba.
The kitty. This cat hates me. You're free, little guy. All right, you want to do some streaming picks?
Sure, yeah. Let's do it. We can just do a little clap action.
Yeah, because I don't see my guitar.
Oh, there you go. We like movies, so do you. We like internet, so do we. Netflix picks of the week. It's the streaming picks of the week. It's the streaming picks of the week. We like the internet too. What are you watching home, Slice?
Jack Ryan.
Oh, tell me about Jack Ryan.
I'm on
I'm
episode
ignorant
7.
to Jack Ryan.
That's a good one.
You remember 24, Jack Bauer?
Yeah.
That took the world by storm.
Sure.
I feel like Jack Ryan is just a bit more likable. You know,
Okay.
if Jack Bauer was for my stepdad Randy generation, like, oh fuck, he waterboarded a terrorist. Fuck yeah, Jack. Fuck yeah. Oh, he shot that dude in the knee who should have gotten a right to a trial. Fuck yeah, dude. Keep doing it, baby. So, and I realized this because I told Randy, I was like, you would love Jack Ryan. It's pretty much new age Jack Bauer,
Sure.
And he's like, okay. And he's kind of like, he's kind of like, I wish this guy was a little more, ruthless or something.
Sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's Jim from The Office. It's John Krasinski.
Yeah, I've always he's kind of hard to. I haven't watched any of the show, so
every
he
time
seems like the kind of guy that's a little hard to kind of take
every time he does
seriously.
the lips where he's like, you're like, oh, Jim's there. But they do a good job of. The character is a little Jim-esque, maybe? I don't know. He's got a little like a likable sort who I think was like a badass in the military before, but then had like a back surgery and got out of it. And he's just a super smart guy trying to solve. And this season 2 is about Venezuela and just all the inner workings of the government and how the CIA gets involved. And so just for that alone, talking about, we listened to the podcast with Edward Snowden and hearing about all the secret shit they have going on, it kind of lets you into to some of that, and they do it in a way that you think to yourself, oh, that is pretty accurate of today's world landscape. So Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime, highly recommend it.
Check it out. I will
Both
definitely
seasons.
check it out. Actually, I'm gonna go with. I'll do 2 Prime picks just because one of them's. If you've asked me if I've finished it yet the last couple weeks, and I finally did. Undone is fucking tremendous and
interesting ending.
Interesting.
I wanted more.
Interesting ending, but I think they did it that way so that we can have another season.
That's what I was thinking. Because I wanted more immediately.
Because honestly, I don't. Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Because the story is a loop, right? The story is very much a loop, and so when you make any kind of progress within the loop, like it doesn't feel like you got that far because you have to kind of live the loop again. But that's also kind of what makes it great. Yeah. And it's kind of a cool look at what the West would diagnose as schizophrenia. That's kind of the idea of it is diagnosing kind of schizophrenia versus people versus like the shaman mentality, people that can see through time and through space
so cool.
and through
the science
people.
of it.
It's a very interesting. I love it. I love the way that it's animated over the top of it. I see huge potential for it. I just don't know where they take it. I hope they don't kind of. I was really hoping at the end. I'm like, oh man, don't rush this. And I felt like they gave us an out. Like I feel like they didn't rush it. They actually extended it. So,
for sure.
So now I'm happy. I can't wait for it to come out. I'm sure it's going to be a long time. I can't imagine that is very easy
Yeah, I wondered if it's like
to put that in. Hopefully, it's an app. You know what?
filter,
Honestly,
boop,
with the way they have sensors on, we were just talking about, on FaceTime and whatnot. Like, the way that you can put filters on your face, and they might have a cartoon filter they can throw on there. They just have to film the season. I hope that's how it is because I'm really ready to get back. The other thing I watched, I'm nerding out.
Yeah.
Nerding out, buddy.
The art of.
Yeah, well, like it's art, but it's art, but it's even nerdier. So it's on Amazon Prime. It's called Eye of the Beholder: The Art of Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh, that's interesting.
It's pretty fucking cool, man. So they basically talk about TSR from its inception on, and all of the artists that ultimately drew these fantasy.
TSR?
That's the company that was doing this art for Dungeons and Dragons.
Okay.
And
when did Dungeons and Dragons first?
79 maybe, something like that. Maybe in the mid 70s, but like it was becoming pretty commercially successful around 79. And so they talk about how many of the ideas that we have about fantasy, right? Fantasy art and everything else. Tolkien definitely painted a universe that was able to, that these people clearly drew off of, but they've expanded it a millionfold. And so what we think of as how a dragon looks or how a necromancer looks, so much of that is of just the creative minds of these artists that made up the company. So it's kind of the first 20 minutes are a little slow going, just kind of but then they start to talk about each individual artist and then go through like their work, and you have all of these different collectors and D&D players through the years.
D&D like, are there set characters in D&D?
They like in the books and the stories, they have like NPCs that they give backgrounds to, and of course, like game masters or dungeon masters.
What's NPC?
Non-player character.
Character, that's right.
Yeah, so like they definitely have different characters that exist within these different worlds because they have different. And I'm the worst authority to talk on this. Like I would love to get Ryan in here to talk about D&D.
He had such a cool post where he asked his kids
what they want to do. They want to play D&D.
Dude, I felt
and he's one of the most creative dudes I know, and so I know that he can make
his
a
post
scene
was
for
the most creative thing
he's
it would have been the most creative thing I've ever done in my life. It probably took him 5 seconds.
Just put it together.
Like, Jesus Christ!
Oh, and I've had
he wrote a movie in a fucking little thing.
I've had the pleasure of playing with him, and it's like he has these characters that he puts into it, like Spice, and he's this like got this French accent, and he's a bard that's always just causing mischief wherever you're at. And he travels along with the man, and he plays all these different characters in character, voices, accents, everything. So anyway, you can get as far into it as you want, but they just talk about, they start breaking down, and all of these artists had just different things that they were great at, and that they made this fan. Anyway, I nerded out, man. It was cool. It's neat. It's worth a watch. The first 20, 30 minutes, it's kind of slow going. But once they start really focusing on each individual artist and you hear their peers and fans talk about, like, that's your art's the reason I bought the book. It's cool.
The ripple effect.
It's worth checking out, man.
Does the Dungeon Master, is that the guy who?
Yeah, DM or GM.
Is he making the story up?
Yeah, so like they have like kind of they give you like scenarios for sure and characters that would be in these places, but certainly the DM like draws the details into the campaign.
Craig tells me one day, he's like, "Hey man, we should do this D&D thing," and I'm like, "Yeah, we totally should. Like, it would be a cool thing." And he's like, "Yeah, we can film it and we'll put it on YouTube." I'm like, I don't know if anybody's gonna watch a fucking D&D game on YouTube. He sends me a link to these fucking jackals who have how many views, and they're just sitting there
8
doing
million.
the whole thing.
Yeah,
I'm like,
views.
Holy shit,
dude! I'm telling you, for like if any of you get the opportunity,
and there was a 4-hour long thing.
Dan Harmon, who has created so many great shows, Community, Rick and Morty, like the guy is unbelievably brilliant. He has a cartoon that you can pay for called Harmon Quest, and every week they bring in a different comedian or something to play a campaign with them, and it is fucking awesome, dude. It is some of the most entertaining shit you'll watch. And like he had a documentary that was kind of talking about, I guess he deals with depression, and so this documentary showed him going from city to city, and after he would have these talks, these sets. Then they would play like this quick game online, and they end up pulling quick game live in front of the crowd, and they end up asking if anybody could DM. And this guy, who is he's a big dude, long hair, fits the mold. Like he's like cargo shorts, socks and sandals, and like a robe. He looks like the dude. You know what I mean? Like this guy, like he's like, yeah, I can DM it or whatever. Well, he's a real dry dude, not much. And then all of a sudden, he starts putting this game together, and he becomes the fucking star. Like because of how creative he is.
Gotcha.
And like they're blown away by him. So they end up, they're just like, hey, you want to like come with us on the next tour? So he starts touring. Now he's like a part of the deal. And this Harmon Quest, he is the DM and he's running it. And it is so fantastic. I have long said, like, even my friends owned a game store. It's where we all hung out, in our later high school years and their college years. A lot of people playing different board games, Warhammer, 40K, D&D, and then they had like a LAN center. This was before everybody really had high-speed internet. Yeah. We were playing like competitive Counter-Strike and stuff like that. So we would go and have LAN parties and hook up there.
That was so fun.
But there's shit. Oh, dude! And when I had my first house, we changed the entire top with just a big LAN center. All of my buddies.
Halo ruined my collge career. Helped ruin it.
Dude, I mean, we played so many hours of Counter-Strike and Warcraft. Anyway. So, I forgot where were we going with that? I'm sorry.
You were talking about how you had LAN centers, and I just got
yeah, the game store. So there would be all kinds of guys playing Magic the Gathering, card games, different, and there was always like kind of groups of role players doing their different campaigns throughout this store. It's a big store. It's probably the biggest gaming store in the Midwest.
And it's like a lot
shout
of
out to Metagames. Yeah, shout out to Metagames in Springfield. They're awesome dudes. But I always just thought it just always seemed a little weird to me. Somebody talked me into like just playing one day, and I'm like, and you kind of got to get over these weird little things like I got to do this in character, or like
I know
you're always trying to game it and be like, well, what if I did this? I don't know. You have to just make decisions and exist in that.
And you go, Steve, you would love it because I was like, I don't know. It's like you live that life.
You dress in costumes and make believe all the time.
Like this is made for you.
So what I took away from it was the people that I was sitting at the table with were some of the most creative. Yeah. And my favorite thing about that store, and if you've ever watched or listened to Kevin Smith's podcast, but I even think he had a documentary or a show called like Comic Men, and it took place in this comic book store in New Jersey or whatever. Dude, the conversations that would take place on a daily basis inside of this place, it was like living in Clerks. Like they were, they're talking about, all the union workers that are building the Death Star. Like, who's really the good guys here? They blew up all these innocent laborers, Like, these are the kind of conversations that are happening. Like, guys are imagining these imaginary worlds, but like the real world.
If Superman could come inside of Lois Lane.
Yeah, how could she possibly contain that? Yeah, this is the type of shit. And so, like, because they were always having these, like, hypothetical debates and conversations, some of the most creative shit I've ever heard in my life came of that. And so like I've still never really actively joined a D&D group, but man, if every time that I do it once a year for sure.
We gotta do it.
And it is some of the hardest I laugh. Some of the most clever shit you'll ever hear. Yeah. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to check it out. I'm going to check out this art and like I'm like, I get it, man.
That's cool,
it's
man.
Cool shit.
That's cool. What a show.
I had some fun. You guys want to?
Should I roll this?
I don't know. I think maybe we if you guys want to stick around for about 20 minutes, we got an interview with. I
have a Netflix pick.
Yes, please.
Hit us with it.
So I just finished up Inside Bill's Brain, decoding Bill Gates.
Interesting.
Can you hear me? All right. Yeah, it's actually inside. Like I've never met anybody or seen a show or a documentary with the brain that he works with. He is on constant movement. Reads like I think 9 books a day.
Who does? Bill Gates?
Bill Gates. Like because his mind moves so fast.
He's got that kind of time.
He just thrives on working on things like by himself to figure them out and then to broadcast them to people.
9 books a fucking day.
It's something ridiculous, dude. He has this bag that he carries on the weekend and it gets stocked apparently by this woman who knows what kind of, or his wife or somebody who stocks these books that he wants to read. And they're all books that are like into the quantum mind and like it's crazy.
Awesome.
But it's really good.
What's it called again?
It's Inside Bill's Brain, Decoding Bill Gates. It's a 3-part docuseries that explores the mind and motivations of the celebrated tech visionary, business leader, and philanthropist.
I did. I thought he was talking about that movie I picked was a couple weeks ago, Inside Bill's Butt.
Hey, listen, a couple things.
Okay.
Let's do a little business.
Yeah, little business.
Got a little business to handle. First off,
that's Lifetime Roofing, by the way.
Lifetime Roofing and Renovation. LifetimeSTL.com. Guys, if you need right now, we got snow
Yes.
on the roofs.
Yes.
Like look in the ceiling.
Yes.
There are little spots, things like that. You might have a little leak.
Yes.
All right. They're going to come out. They're going to give you a free estimate. They're going to take care of you. Maybe the insulation. Maybe you need some new siding. Maybe you just seem like you're losing all your heat.
Houses go through wear and tear in this time of the season.
You need to go and Google Lifetime
Roof.
Okay. Now, here's what else makes me think about that weather, that
Lifetime.
that cold and then warm, that snap.
Yeah.
You know what that does?
Expands and contracts.
It busts up the road.
Yeah,
we
it
get
does.
these stinking potholes.
And it's icy.
And it's icy as all get out.
I agree.
Okay. And you get out there, you might hit a little pothole, you try and swerve out of it, you hit a patch of ice, guess what? Little fender bender. Little bitty fender bender. But you're not that worried about it. You want to know why? You're not worried about it, Steve.
I am?
You're not. Because you are insured by James Carlton State Farm.
I am.
And he's the best insurance agent in the
am.
game. He's probably gonna make sure you get a car, so you got no downtime. He's gonna make sure that your car is getting fixed right away.
He's the best.
If you call 314-961-4800, they're gonna take care of you immediately. And the best thing about them, times like this, when the weather's bad, okay, they're not about if he's handling a claim, okay.
What?
If the James Carlton agency's handling a claim, and a new customer calls in, new customers got to wait. Because they like to take care of the customers that have already entrusted them with this, with this hard time in their life.
Well, we got a lot of potential new customers, so maybe that wasn't.
You know
the
what?
best.
As a new customer, I think they pride themselves on that. They pride themselves on that. No.
I won't.
I will not stand for you stepping on
besmirch.
Stepping on a core value of James Carlton State Farm, and that is
I'm
to take
sorry.
care of the customers that they already have. Now, the longer you wait to become a customer, the longer you wait in line to get taken care of. So call James Carlton right now, 314-961-4800, carltoninsurance.net. They're awesome. And guess what? On the 15th, you're going to be 36. You're going to be a 36-year-old man.
I'm an old man.
You're an old man. And we're going to go down to Truman's. We're going to go down to Truman's and Soulard.
Denim party.
For a denim party. And if I know anything about a denim party, buddy, I know that there is a snooch to follow.
Oh,
okay.
buddy, you should see Jen.
It is a trim bonanza.
Okay, so I told Jen, this is funny. I told her, I go, hey, we should get something funny, to get. So I get online, I'm looking up
like
this
Garth
stuff.
and
yeah, just
Cat.
like you saw that exact. We did that for Halloween one year. So I was like, yeah, we can get like a Quaker dress. It's like a jean, like you see those weirdos at Six Flags wearing everything.
They're
I'm joking. I
nice,
love them.
Steven.
I
They're
love
great.
them.
They're
I love
nice
them.
people.
I'm kidding.
They're lovely people.
No judgment here. I love it. Otherwise, we wouldn't have the jean dresses. So she puts that on. And it's the worst. It's the worst thing. Now I'm still looking at her body, and I'm like, oh yeah, you still get it in that dress. Sorry, like you still get not the best.
Is it a full length zipper?
No, it's just a shirt, like a long shirt, jean shirt, and then but if you tie it around the waist, I'm like that could look good. So I get online, I'm looking for because I got a few special things in the mail. But I start seeing all these they make hot women's clothes that's a full jean
denim
thing, like
a denim
little
jumpsuit.
jean short, yes,
yeah, man.
And so I was like, fuck me, I can't let her go to this thing dressed like this if probably all the other gals are gonna be like, look, I'm J-Lo, in the jean thing.
Sure.
And she's like, oh, hello everyone,
I'm Mildred.
Have you heard about our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ? Jesus. I don't know why I always go to the religion thing, but I do. But yeah, so she's got a hot little number. She might do a wardrobe change. I go do a wardrobe change, baby.
All right.
But the most denim or the best denim, whichever one we choose, will win a CBD package from CBD Canvas Boutique and Dispensary.
Awesome. We'll throw in a hat too.
We'll throw in a hat.
You guys want a hat? Throw in a hat. That's awesome, dude. I'm excited. So come out the Truman's.
It looks
November
like she's
15th.
wearing a hospital gown. Is what
November
she said.
15th. Look at this. Corey says, let me into that D&D game.
Okay, Corey.
Okay, I think we got something rolling here.
Let's do it.
Let's get a sophisticated Hoosier D&D game. Ryan,
we'll video footage
Ryan
it.
DMs it.
Yep.
We're gonna cover it. We'll
Yes.
do it. Maybe
just
live
record it.
stream it.
Oh, that'd
maybe
be
live
hilarious.
stream it. That could be funny.
Can we do it here?
I think we could do it anywhere. Yeah, we'll get that other green screen. We'll open it up a little bit. We'll sit around the table. We'll put up some shit in the background.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I think we got something. So if you guys want to sign up, maybe we'll get a group of 5 or 6 of us. You could play with 2. But I mean, we could get, 6.
All right, cool. It's
6 of
just us then. All
Yeah,
right,
yeah, you guys are fucking out. You haven't seen enough of us? Oh, by the way, you haven't gotten enough of us? Well, guess what? You're going to get some more. Daddy's back on the radio.
Oh, yeah.
Daddy's back on the radio.
I think.
1010. The
That's what
double
they
10. KXEN. 104.5 FM. 6 to 7 a.m. on Saturday mornings,
Yeah,
which
what is that?
I am excited about. No, I'm as excited as I've ever been.
Congratulations, Craig.
Well, thanks. I'm as excited as
They
I've
gave
ever
us the
been.
money hour.
Because they're just like, hey, just put it together. I know you'll do great.
I know.
And we're like, okay. Because I think the rules are after 6 p.m., you're in the clear. Is it 6 to 6? Because, or is it 7 to 6?
No, it's probably
I don't
5
know.
a.m.
I would
is
think
what
it's
they
probably 5 to 6.
Yeah.
But any which way, we're going to hit a whole
We're gonna
different
get weird.
demographic on the radio.
And we're going to do a little bit different presentation
And we
for
talked
radio.
about it a little bit with Rick, and there are reasons why I am excited about being in that slot that I think are this group is terrific. This group,
Love you guys.
we know that you guys like to share in our weirdness, and that's awesome.
6 to 7
The
a.m.
beautiful thing about terrestrial radio is all of the people we don't know who is tuning into us, who might otherwise
knows?
be completely turned off by what we're talking about, and they're going to just get little blips of it here and there. Can you imagine tuning in to listen to conservative talk radio or to gospel radio, and then all of a sudden Terrence McKenna's bringing you in from a break to an interview with Rick Doblin, which we're going to give you here. We'll tell you, we talk a little bit about why it's awesome to be on terrestrial radio. If you guys want to stick around, watch this interview one more time. We love you guys. Maybe we'll come back and we'll say bye before it's over.
Probably can do that.
We could do that.
All right, cool. We'll see you guys.
Rick Doblin.
Here's the interview with Rick Doblin at the at Union Station, the Drug Policy Alliance, International Drug Policy Alliance, cotillion.
All I have to do is try to make sense.
I don't think you'll have any hard time with that. Rick, what we'll probably do is we'll record a little intro talking about MAPS a little bit, but since we only got a few minutes with you, we'll just talk to you about where MAPS is at, Phase 3 trials, which is super exciting. And we talked to you a little bit in Michigan. We're a local terrestrial radio show that talks about psychedelic science and cannabis on a gospel radio station, which is the best part about it, right? So,
Are your listeners also like fundamentalist Christians, or
that's what we're hoping for. So
yeah.
we have a group of 2,000 people that are like-minded, an online group, and we also have an uncensored podcast. But why we stay on terrestrial radio is for the people that we don't know that we're hitting. We're hoping that the person that's listening to sermons at 5 o'clock, when it flips over at 6 o'clock, and these guys have Terrence McKenna leading into their show, these people are like, what am I on board for? So hopefully we're changing some minds through the old. No worries, sure.
I just wanted to say hello. And just say how excited it is about Mark.
Yeah.
It's true. All right. So, I think we left off with fundamentalist Christians. Hearing us talking about Ibogaine and Terrence McKenna talking about the nature of reality, the syntactical nature of reality.
And actually, when I think about it, when I look at where the resistance might come from, where a backlash might come from to the mainstreaming of psychedelics, the place I'm worried about the most is the fundamentalist Christians.
Sure.
And I think what I would hope for them, for those that are listening, to realize that actually this could enrich their faith. It's not going to take away from their faith. It will take away from a certain literalism, but it will deepen the actual meaning and practice and spirituality. And so if you, this fear of letting go of the literalism, that this is the one right only way, makes people think they'll be left with nothing.
Yeah.
But actually, the symbolic aspects of it, and you'll be left with even more and a deeper comfort. So I just hope that there's some people questioning and listening from that community.
Personally, I completely relate to that. I think that I was further away from my faith than ever as my dad was dying, and I was introduced to ayahuasca, and it not only brought me to grips with my own mortality and and also with my dad's mortality, but also brought me closer to whatever that now I'm spend my days in search of trying to define what God is rather than who God is and why he's trying to punish me. And it's just a totally different ballgame. So, we were going to talk about this regardless, and a friend of ours worked at a radio station. We went there and we walked in, and they had the they had the gospel music playing and everything. I'm like, are you sure we're in the right place? He's like, oh yeah, man. After 6 o'clock, the FCC doesn't care what we talk about. And I'm like, okay, well, rock and roll. Here we go. So, Rick, you're primarily, obviously, you're the founder of MAPS, and MDMA is moving, I guess, probably quicker ahead in anything except maybe ketamine. I don't know.
Well, ketamine, S-ketamine, one of the isomers, ketamine has been approved for depression.
Okay.
I'd say it's a good example of the difference between nonprofit pharmaceutical drug development and for-profit pharmaceutical drug development. So ketamine itself is generic and cheap. So the for-profit company, Johnson & Johnson, and then Jensen, developed an isomer of ketamine, which they could patent.
Okay.
It's probably not any better than ketamine.
Sure.
I've done all the isomers and ketamine as
Sure.
well. And what they're doing is they're delivering it without psychotherapy. So the concept is that this drug will reset your chemistry in a certain way, like electroconvulsive therapy.
Okay.
And that you don't need to. Most people who are providing ketamine throughout America are not providing it with therapy. MAPS just had a conference in Austin, and there were several therapists there who presented who do combine ketamine with psychotherapy. And what they said was that when you combine ketamine with psychotherapy, it works better, and you need fewer infusions of ketamine.
Go figure.
So it's not as good for the pharmaceutical
They're not going to sell as much as ketamine, or
but
as much
they'll
ketamine.
help people more, and so I think that we've got ketamine. S-ketamine has led the way. There are people that are looking at R-ketamine, the other isomer of ketamine, and to see how that might work for depression. But I think the racemic, the generic ketamine, is probably the best. But I'm not sure who's going to test it because, again,
they can't make any money at it.
They can't patent it. And so for nonprofit drug development, really the mission is different.
Yeah.
It's to really maximize public health rather than maximize money. It's harder to raise the money from donations than it is from investors.
Sure.
But fortunately, we've been able to raise over $75 million in the history of MAPS.
Wow.
And so we're doing nonprofit drug development. Yeah. And then once we get MDMA into prescription use, it's not going to be MDMA. It's MDMA-assisted psychotherapy. The emphasis is on therapy, and the emphasis is on making it so that people don't need MDMA anymore.
Sure.
So that they only need it a few times.
Absolutely.
So that's our long-term goal. We hope by 2022 we'll have it as a prescription medicine approved.
Okay.
We should have all of our data by the middle to end of 2021.
Okay.
And if all goes well, then what we'll do is we'll start making MDMA into a medicine for other things other than PTSD.
Fair enough. Okay.
And then also I'd like to start looking at Ibogaine for opiate addiction.
Yes.
I'd like to get the flower, cannabis flower, as a medicine.
Yes.
For pain or PTSD in a way that's smoked or vaporized.
Yes.
That then becomes generic and inexpensive, and insurance covers it.
Sure.
So we're sort of trying to build an engine of nonprofit psychedelic and marijuana drug development.
It's so exciting to me. It's so exciting because we have one of the things, Steve's wearing a hat right now, Project 422. We work with a veterans organization, about 22 veterans completing suicide a day, many more trying every day, and so much of these veterans are coming home being handed trash bags full of pills to treat, psychoses and different mental illnesses that actually are exacerbated by these different SSRIs and things like that. And it seems like psychedelics work counter to that, where they're actually rewiring neural pathways.
Yeah, I thought your metaphor of a trash bag was pretty good for all these drugs. That one of the
Steve doesn't like when I get any praise.
That's good. One of our veterans from our study said that the VA and others had got him taking 42 pills a day.
It's crazy.
And it wasn't really helping him that much. You take one pill, then you take another for the side effects of the first pill, then you take another for the side effects of the second pill. And basically what they're doing is they're numbing you out and they're reducing the symptoms, but they're not addressing the cause. And when you stop taking the pills, the problems go back.
Sure.
So our method, our operational approach, is to try to get at the root cause with this MDMA-assisted psychotherapy so that people can address those fundamental memories that are causing them pain and trauma, and then rewire the brain, as you said, and then once they've done that, then they can keep healing themselves on their own without more medication. That's our goal. And we find that some people are able to heal themselves after just one MDMA session. We think our standard model will be 2 MDMA sessions with 9 90-minute non-drug psychotherapy sessions, 3 before the first MDMA session for preparation, and then 3 after each of 2 MDMA sessions.
Sure.
Some people will need 3 or 4 sessions of MDMA. It'll vary. But what we're really seeing is that once people with PTSD learn that suppressing the trauma or just reducing the symptoms doesn't really teach them how to deal with their difficult feelings. And if you can learn how to let them to the surface and not be overwhelmed by them and process them, then you can keep healing yourself on your own after the MDMA is over. The other thing I should add is that we use a 2-person therapy team. And usually it's a male-female team, but not always. And eventually we think one of them will be a licensed therapist, the other will be a student, an intern being supervised by the first person and becoming a student. So that'll lower the cost of it. But the 2-person model we think is very effective. Often most of us, we're all traumatized. Just reading the newspaper is traumatic, thinking about climate change, thinking about nuclear weapons, fundamentalism, warfare all over the place. You're just traumatized just by paying attention.
Sure.
And so our long-term goal is both to work for medicalizing these drugs, and also we're here at the Drug Policy Alliance conference, which is about drug policy reform.
Yes.
So I think that people should be able to access these drugs on their own with proper education, with pure drugs. And in the end, what I think we're going to be doing is trying to heal people through peer support networks, through healing themselves, through proper education. And then only the hardest cases will go to the clinic settings where we have the professionals. And the sad thing is that there's more than enough of the hardest cases that will need to go to these clinics.
That's interesting, the peer groups, because right now I'm not sure how many people have gone through maybe a few hundred, something like that. I mean,
well, of the people the therapists that we've so we have at this point several hundred people have been through our training PTSD. Been through our treatment PTSD.
Right.
And we've got 84 therapists working on phase 3 right now. We're training another 40 or 50 as we expand to Europe.
There could potentially be tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people with traumatic symptoms that could use this, but how long does each session last?
Well,
potentially?
The VA has just recently put out a number saying there's 8 million PTSD sufferers in the United States. And just think about the rest of the world. And that's people who qualify for a diagnosis of PTSD. There's a lot of people traumatized that don't rise to the level of being diagnosed with PTSD, but their lives are negatively impacted by the trauma that they've experienced. So we anticipate that the number of therapists we can train, no matter how many we can train, the demand and the need is going to be higher than that. And each co-therapy team can treat only 20 or 25 people a year.
Right, just because of how long it takes to do one session itself, and then the integration that goes into it. That's what, that struck me. That was one of my main questions. So the peer groups is a big answer to that, but obviously removing a lot of stigma is.
Well, and we're also looking at group therapy. So that's another thing we're starting to explore. The Veterans Administration has done studies with individual therapy versus group therapy, and what they've shown is that the group therapy doesn't seem to work quite as well. That there's shame, there's stigma, there's problems. People need to also tell their stories. But group therapy, if it's 80% as good, but only 25% the cost, then we'll do rollout of massive group therapy as well.
No doubt.
But that's the stage. We're at the very early stage of trying to get permission to do a group therapy study.
It's so exciting, Rick. I want to be respectful of your time. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours.
Well, ask me a hard question.
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's ask you a hard question. Okay. What song do you want to make sure is played at your funeral, Rick?
Let's see. That's a good question. I would say Dark Star.
Oh, okay, nice.
Nice. Okay, so Steve asks everybody, what is the best animal? If all of the animals were put in a coliseum, what animal reigns supreme?
Oh my gosh! Well, do you know that I've raised a purebred Alaskan timber wolf for
No,
2
but
years?
That's the coolest shit ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I got him when he was 8 weeks old, and
that's so
when I
cool.
was 21. So I really feel like the wolf is my animal. I've learned so
Fair
much
enough.
from him, and it was because I was living in Sarasota, Florida.
Okay.
Which was the winter home of the Ringling Brothers Circus.
Yeah.
And there's all sorts of people there from circuses and carnivals. And there was this this group that was raising wild animals for circuses and carnivals, and
Sure.
they weren't taking care of them. And the Humane Society shut them down, and the female wolf was pregnant and had a litter of 8. Now, this is 1975, and the zoos were full, the sanctuaries were full, and there was nothing they could do with these wolves. So
You're
they
like a
put
Stark.
they put an ad in the paper. Do you want to help raise wolves?
That's so cool.
And I was at the time looking for a dog, and this friend of mine saw this ad, and she told me there's this ad for wolves. I'm like, so I ended up applying, and
that is tremendous.
Yeah,
I'm so glad to get that from you.
The other thing that's even more amazing is that wolves are born with their eyes closed.
Okay.
For a few days. So the Humane Society, knowing that they couldn't find sanctuaries or zoos or anything for them, took these wolves away from their mother right when they were born and bottle fed them by humans. So when they opened their eyes, they bonded on people. So this was an incredible. And so I was super shy, 21 years old. And so I asked for the most dominant of the litter so that I could kind of get a feel for what that might be like.
Yeah.
And this wolf lived with me for 2 years. I built a big pen on the outside. Couldn't house train him, which was kind of good. We howled together. We used to run through the woods together. I had all this land, and we'd run through the woods at night. And
it is really cool.
Well, yeah. So did you ever hear of a book, Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance?
I actually have heard of it. I have not read it.
I would highly recommend it.
Okay.
But the reason I mention that is there's a character in there called Phaedrus, which is from the Plato Dialogues. And Phaedrus, in the book, they say that Phaedrus is the word for wolf. And it's the taming power of love is the part of the dialogue. Phaedrus is this guy from the countryside, and he's brought into sort of this philosophical society, and so that was the name of my wolf, was Phaedrus.
That is so cool.
And in Zen and the Outer Motorcycle Maintenance, it's the alter ego of the guy who writes the book. He's gone crazy, and he's gone through electroconvulsive therapy, and he called his old self Phaedrus, and he's trying to integrate and not lose the magic of the old self too. So
sure.
Anyway, that's if I had to have one animal, and I've got incredible pictures.
I do have one more going back to it. Okay, we brought a movie here to premiere, and we decided we were going to fill the theater with veterans and first responders from shock to awe.
Oh,
Our friend
great! You brought it here.
Our
Great.
friend Matt Kale was one of the central subjects of the film, and I heard you talking a little bit in Michigan about how MAPS is also working with maybe ayahuasca studies overseas.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I'm most curious about is, what do the controls look like in an ayahuasca? It seems like it'd be a lot easier to control MDMA or to ketamine or things like that. But when it comes to doses, and you're talking about brews and everything being different, what does that control situation look like?
Well, I think that your first thought there was, I would say, wrong, which is that MDMA and LSD and other things like that, mushrooms, are just as hard as ayahuasca.
Okay.
Not because of how you take it, but because of the effects.
Okay.
So it's very difficult to do a double-blind study with any psychedelic.
Sure.
Compared to a placebo.
That makes sense.
Even compared to an active placebo like niacin or an amphetamine. Or So basically, a lot of my PhD dissertation was about trying to solve the double-blind problem.
Okay.
And so I spent a lot of time working on that, and I actually thought I solved the problem. And what my solution is that you do therapy with low dose of the drug versus therapy with full dose.
Okay.
And then everybody is told they're going to receive the same thing. And most people don't know how to tell a low dose from a full dose.
Right.
The therapist sometimes would have a hard time to tell. And so I was, super happy. I persuaded my professors to approve my PhD.
Sure.
This was just a part of my dissertation, but I thought I'd solve the problem. And so when we started doing the research, I found out to my dismay that my solution was wrong. And so part of it was right, that the low dose therapy with low dose did produce blinding to some degree. But with MDMA, and I don't know if it's true with LSD or ayahuasca or psilocybin or anything like that, but low doses of MDMA agitated people. It activated them, the speedy aspects of it.
Yeah.
But it didn't reduce their fear enough so that when we tried to work with them on their PTSD, they felt very awkward and uncomfortable. And actually, we showed that people who got therapy without any MDMA did better than people who had therapy with low-dose MDMA.
Okay.
But then the problem is, as you step up the dose, it's not that far to get to a therapeutic dose. So what we found, to our surprise, also was that 75 milligrams of MDMA with 2 hours later, 37.5, worked great. So we found that 25, 30, 40, even 50 milligrams were a little bit awkward for people, but you get up to 75, and then it's working really, really well. Some kind of threshold is passed. So when we went to the FDA and we went to the European agency, the European Medicines Agency, I started out by saying one of my favorite quotes. It was from an old president of Harvard, and he said, "Never forget there's always a Harvard man on the wrong side of every issue." And so I said, this is me. I thought I had, and this time it's me. My dissertation was wrong. There is no solution to the double-blind problem. And to the FDA, you can tell us, we'll do the blinding if you want that with low dose, but the real question is, if you can do something with therapy, why bother add the drug?
Right.
And so the real question is, let's do therapy without the drug versus therapy with full dose MDMA. And then the FDA basically agreed to that, and they said there's two main things to do to reduce experimenter bias. And this would apply for ayahuasca, for anything, which is random assignment. So you get everybody similarly motivated. They know they'll either get the placebo or they'll get the therapy with the drug, but they're all similarly motivated to get better. So random assignment is really important, because some studies will take, here's a group of people, they've gone through this treatment, there's a bunch of them that didn't work for, and so then we'll take the volunteers and they'll go in to get this next treatment. But they're the more motivated people. So you have random assignment, and then the other part of it is that you have to have the person that evaluates how well people are doing be separate from the therapists. So the therapist cannot say, this person did great. It's an independent person, and we have a whole complicated system. We have over 20 raters that do ratings on telemedicine, on video, and they're all calibrated with each other with inter-rater reliability, and they will sometimes only see the person that they rate once, because this large pool will be making sure that other raters get to this person.
Sure.
Sometimes they'll see them twice. Again, it's a random process. But those are the two main ways that the FDA and the European Medicines Agency said we could reduce experimenter bias.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Rick, you answered my question. I'm so excited to be here with you today. Thank you for everything that you do. And
that wasn't even
done.
that hard of a question.
And I'm sorry. I'm not a PhD from Harvard. Steve, you got anything you want to get on this mic and ask him anything? Okay. You got it. How about a parting thought for all of our Christian fundamentalist friends?
I'd say that Jesus would be sympathetic with the people going deep into their own psyche to find ways to be more loving, to be more healthy, to be more inclusive, to reach these kind of mystical senses of connection, to be compassionate, that you're not losing, you're gaining to explore in this way.
Rick, you're the best. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Appreciate you.
Great.
Thanks, man.
That was fun.
That was so much fun.
We're back.
Oh,
man, it's good to relive.
It's good to relive. And it's because of this group that we're able to do these cool things, man. And give us a little bit of juice, man. I wish you guys could have seen how proud he is that one of the things they said in Michigan was that we need to create groups. If you want to be a beacon, for the psychedelic movement, start home, create a group. And our group is based in love, and our group is looking for the answers just like the rest of them, finding gentle ways to help each other find them.
That's awesome.
And I'm so grateful for it, man. That was literally a dream come true. And now I'm like, okay, I get to check a big one off. What's the next big audacious goal for us?
Mine, Duncan Trussell.
Duncan is. I definitely want to put Duncan on the list. Rick Strassman's another big. Graham Hancock maybe.
Who's the,
Aubrey Marcus? I think would be a phenomenal.
No doubt. The fella who talks about the singularity.
Kurzweil?
Yes, Ray Kurzweil.
Oh, that's a big one. That'd be fun.
That'd be a real.
So that's what we get to do, man. We get to put it on the dream board. Yeah. We got to check a big one off, and
cool.
Who knows? He might come to the next cotillion.
He invited him.
He may come to the next cotillion.
We invited him, and he was like, "Oh." If his schedule allows it.
I'm so excited to be doing this with all of you. You guys make it great.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for tuning in. We've had a blast, buddy. Feels like we're
success.
Feels like we're fucking doing it, man. Weatherman Mike, you are the man. We love you, brother.
Sir. Good night, Hoosiers.
Good night, everyone.
Be well.